So are we live? We're a little bit early. A little bit early. So we did that on purpose. Mostly because we wanted to do some things. And get things started so we have a little more conversation time. I know it's live on video, we're playing around, don't worry. We are going to go, just because this is like we're redoing all of our stuff and looking for some changes. So hello, we're going to turn the video back on, but again, we're still setting up. We kind of like to talk in the morning first, but good morning Paranormal, good morning Dragon Dancer. How are you guys doing?
Good morning! Am I looking to my left or your left? When we're going on?
I have no clue what you're fucking talking about. What does when we're going on mean?
I'm just messing with you.
Backfire.
You're supposed to roll with it.
I don't roll with it because I don't have my mimosa yet.
You will get your mimosa.
I better get my mimosa. So, really?
He's been quiet all day. What'd you see?
He didn't see nothing. He heard a noise and thinks he heard something.
Ah.
But you know what? Finn's on guard. So we are toying with trying to be a little more specific and organized. I know 10:30 is probably early for a lot of people. 10:30 may also be very early for some of us that are going in other time zones, but we kind of felt like I enjoy talking while we're getting set up and stuff, and making changes and moving things around. So we're going to try to do 10:30 and then have a 12:30 hard stop no matter what, but never past 1 p.m. depending on what we're talking about and what's going on. If we're doing we're going to do a craft, I think, next week.
Corn dolls.
Face wash.
Oh, face wash. I'm excited about the corn dolls.
Yeah, we're going to talk about corn dollies today, and we're going to do the corn dollies, but we're not going to do it on the live service, I don't think. We might. If Joy comes over and wants to do it, I'm game for doing it, but that might make it a little bit long. So anyway, the point is we're going to be going through and still doing things just like we have. It's just we're going to try to get through a lot of our topics by noon so that we have a half hour for tarot. And then if we want to finish anything up, we can. So we're going to start just a little early to get the conversations out and kind of go through it that way. And then we have a 3 p.m. Eastern on the Malice Experience. You have a special that we're doing with Michael Ford and Christoph Bathory. So we kind of have to balance, right? We got to do balance.
I'm excited for Michael Ford just because when I started looking up Left Hand Path books, he's the main one that came up in Asana. That lady.
Asana me.
Asanas.
Ziggy, good morning.
Good morning, Ziggy.
Paranormal. Yes, we will always have time to answer your questions. We can talk about that now. I can only give you my personal experience. I have reached out to deities where deities did not really respond or engage. It does happen. The first 2 things that I generally will do is look at how I'm engaging and perhaps checking to make sure that I'm engaging properly. And if I feel like I am, which only you can tell, then I may move on to somebody else because it may just be that that deity knows they are not the right one for you at that time and will come back around, because just because you want to work with somebody doesn't mean that it's right. For example, when I first started, I was just really hyper interested in Carriage Wind, and since then I've worked with Carriage Wind, but in the beginning I couldn't. I tried so hard and it just didn't work. It didn't come around for another 20 years.
Same for me with her.
Yeah.
When I tried,
she was like, not ready yet.
She just didn't respond, and then she gave me like a poof of like just power, and it's like I wasn't ready. for
Yeah,
her.
it took 20 years before
Yeah.
she really answered to me, and it actually came through other people. Like when Joy came into our life and just started talking about, the Mabinogian and the Irish and Welsh and the British Isles and all of those territory and pantheons and processes. That's when she opened back up. Because I wasn't ready before, and it's not a good or a bad thing to or to not be ready. It's just not the right time. It's like saying, you know what, you don't need, can't think of this. You don't need a pair of pruning shears for a big tree to use on a bonsai. You know what I mean? So it's just not the right process. So that could be it. But I would start first with how are you engaging the deity you're trying to work with. And then if the deity still doesn't respond, just take it as a sign to go to someone else and open up to potentially hear from other people.
Like anything, I always go by on so many levels. If it don't fit, don't force it, because she literally would not work with me, and I haven't tried again with her since.
Yeah.
That was 3 years ago.
And I think people get like offended a little bit. Like, why won't she work with me? Like, well, because it's the deity. Like, I don't force people at work to work with me. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's the same thing. It just is like, hey, not right now. That's okay. We'll put it on the back. We'll come back to it. So hopefully that answers your question. If you want, I don't know like how to work with every deity, but I usually am pretty good at help finding different ways to do it. So you're more than welcome to share as much as you're comfortable with sharing, and we can see if we can help out and give you some ideas. But again, if in the end deity's like, nah, they're just not going to respond to you, and you're going to move on. Or you may even want to engage saying, hey, I'm not hearing back from you in your meditation, your practice, deity, I'm not hearing you. I'm getting the impression that I need to work with somebody else, but can you steer me in the direction? Can you help me understand or see? And you might get a feeling of, like, for me, it was crossroads, railroad tracks. I kept seeing the areas where roads cross and decisions, and then I had to switch. That's when I switched over to Elin.
And the best thing that works for me is to always go slow and start simple. If you have an offering for that deity or spirit, start with that and maybe just put it out. A statue, a representation. You certainly don't have to have any of those things, like a lot of things, but just go slow and see what happens. I want to work with Santa Muerte, but I don't have all of her offerings up. I've been going slow, and I started just with putting out water and burning a candle, but there's some other offerings I have to get that might engage her as well. So just slow is a good thing for me anyway. Slow, learn all you can, put little offerings out for them. It's definitely nothing to be rushed and to be discouraged about.
Yeah, and just for the record, hope that you guys can hear a little bit of the background music. Probably not too well, but it is Herknungr, Herknungr, some of his own work. If you want to check out and you enjoy it, please go to his YouTube channel, support, find Patreon, whatever. Just it's there. So let me add to that. So Hecate, I have actually worked with Hecate before. Probably has been a long time, but my experience, number one, Hecate does not like you. That is not a thing when it's somebody who's trying to work with you. Now, if you're a heart person where things are not where they need to be, then there is a chance that a deity may not like you, but I don't think that's the case. I think you're just either you are not pulling the right string in the web. Hi, Joy.
Hey, Joy. Good morning.
Morning. Or you may not be in the right web, right? And so what I mean, like the way I picture things and see things is based off of the web of connection of everything being connected, ourselves included on that, with every person, every animal, every entity, every deity, everything is connected to that web. And so sometimes you're not plucking the right strings, or she's plucking a string back that you haven't learned how to receive. So a couple of things that you can do with Hecate is you have to look, for me, again, these are my experiences. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do, like I just said, have to. What I did was I had to start paying attention to the undertones and the, I want to call it like the bottoms of things. Coffee does sound good.
Coffee time, yes.
But so you have to pay attention to the bottom or the back or the underbelly of things. So when Hecate speaks to me, or has spoken to me in the past, it's been very underneath. You know, I go outside and I sit down under a tree and I get hit in the head with an acorn. That's Hecate telling me to work with the trees. Not really, it's just I'm trying to think of good examples. You know, if I want to work with Hecate and I just want to show admiration, like you said, you admire Hecate, and you're not asking for anything, just say, I admire Hecate, and then look at night at liminal times, either early in the morning, right as the sun begins to approach the horizon, when that dawn just start, not even dawn, but that pre-dawn, that start, or in the afternoon, evening. There's a lot of birds of prey across the street here. Big
What
ones.
is it?
Looks like
Vultures?
Looks like a Cooper's hawk.
Ooh.
But I can't see that far. I don't even know if we have Cooper's hawk down there, but that's the coloring it looks like. Sorry, sidetrack. But yeah, so, you know, looking at those things, for me, most deity is not dismissive. They just won't engage if they don't want to, or if they don't need to for you right now. So look, you know, do some admirations in your meditation. Maybe if you have a statue or if you have a representation, even if it's a picture.
A picture works well.
Yeah, meditate on it. Don't ask for anything. Just say, hey, you know, I admire you. I've read a lot about you. I feel comfortable with you. I will keep my eyes open at liminal times to receive a message from you. And then you can see if that works. If it doesn't, like we said just a few minutes ago, deity may not want to work with you right now, or it may not be right for you right now. So then you can potentially go on a meditation journey and say, all right, what deity needs to speak to me right now? Or what signs and symbols or processes do I need to see? And then take those symbols and look for things that are representative of that upon the line of that deity.
And taking the time is so important, and that's a good point, Joy. As I found out 3 years ago, if you do try to force or rush it, they can come in and they can really mess you up and teach you a lesson. So respect, patience is all important. Good morning, Steph.
Good morning. But yeah, and Joy, it's exactly correct. We were talking about that just a few minutes ago, how it's important to not, you know, take it personally if deity's not responding to you. The first thing I always say is look at how you're approaching it first. And then if you're still not getting anything, look at how you're receiving. You still, you know, not getting anything, meditate on what other symbols or things that you need to know right now, and then try to connect to a different deity. I think it's really important to me that individuals don't be like, well, that deity doesn't like me. I do feel that there are probably some instances where deity doesn't like people. But when you're first starting out and you're first trying, it just may not be the right time, and it may not be the right string to pull. So, fun stuff. I like that. As you guys can tell, we are still audio only at the moment. We did go live a little bit early because we were wanting to kind of see what it's like to have some conversation beforehand to get started. That's just focused on chat, because once we go live, it's a little bit harder to keep up with chat. So we wanted to give some more time to kind of have this type of a conversation before we get started. We will still video live at 11. We're going to try to get through our topics that we've set by noon, and then we're going to try to do tarot from noon to 12 to 12:30 and be done at 12:30, kind of as a standard Eastern time, just to kind of narrow things out a little bit and be a little bit more consistent and respective of other people's time. Yeah. So.
Oh, Dragon Dancer, I hope you get some rest. I hope you, rest is important.
We've got some really fun things today. I am super excited.
Yeah, hit with a bang, yeah.
Yes, Willow, look at what From the Cauldron Witch just wrote. That is often how it does happen. You think you're ready, you say it, and then literally like a week later you get smacked in the back of the head. Like mine was with an acorn, right? I literally was sitting under a tree just sitting enjoying myself. And it was, you know, acorns are small, sure, and they're light, but that stuff hurts when they come from the top of the tree. They can give you a nice little whack. Yeah. And that was literally my symbol. It's like, okay, try it again. And I did, and it worked. And sometimes it's really just about getting your mind in the right groove of the record, for lack of a better term, right? Yes, I did say that. I feel that we already are working with daemon in that form of the term, the ancients, but I want to work more specifically with them. Yes, um, absolutely. And one of the things that I've learned over time is, and this is not something that I take lightly, is you can work within your own pantheon. I have a comfort zone. I do want to work outside of that comfort zone sometimes, and I also want to allow other methods and other people and other practices to inform my own. So, for example, while I am constantly, it's not a bad thing, but I just am clear that I'm not left-hand path. I'm really doing a lot of left-hand path reading and reviewing and looking through stuff, and potentially do want to work with some left-hand path deities or others, just to, again, inform, respectfully, of course, but to inform my own practice. Will it cause a change? Probably not, but I'm open to it as far as a change in my practice. But what it does do is it informs the things that I'm comfortable with, and it allows me to be able to read different energies, so that when we do things like Reiki or distance healing or quantum healing, all of those things kind of go together, and they allow me to really see energy differently and perceive it differently, which is a lot of ongoing work still for me. So
Yeah, that's interesting, Steph. How that works. I've kind of taken a step back, and I'm just, like I told you, I've been putting water out and lighting our candle, but I'm definitely going to put those offerings up you suggested, and then just sit with that a while and see patiently if I get a response. Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm sure it is.
Payback is a bitch.
Yeah. No, I love that, and I think that actually happens a lot, but I think the important note for me, Willow, for you would be, don't let yourself feel like a deity doesn't like you unless you're actually doing something to cause that. For example, if you give the wrong offering to a deity, are they going to come punch you in the back of the head? Probably not. Are you going to know about it at some point? Yeah. But it's not a like or dislike. It's just is it the right time or is it not? Is it the right place or is it not? Are you in the right place or are you not? And the right place just being the right moment for that deity. So I think the example we used last night was, using deities' names and things like a phone number or a calling card. Do we have the right calling card? Or Finn, that is a noisy dog.
Yeah. And he hasn't made a peep until
he's been
10:30.
super quiet until 10:30. But anyway, so it's just like it's not right or wrong or good or bad for you at this moment. It's just and honestly, Hecate is probably not. I'm not going to gatekeep and say nobody can work with Hecate in the beginning. She's to me has been a very good positive deity, but it was harder for me to connect to her initially. It took a lot more energy and time to really get in with Hecate. For me, breed is a little bit more conducive to all. Any of the triple moon goddesses, generally speaking, if you work with them, they're going to probably give you a not easier but a more confident response. So we're going to call our circle, I think, here for a minute.
And then real quick, before that, one thing I found, I'm reading about Baba Yaga, and I think there's some exercises and meditations you can do with Hecate about the crossroads meditations and actually meeting her at the crossroads when you're ready with an offering. That might be something you want to look up, and I can help you look that up too, Willow.
Of course, absolutely.
Okay, so ready to call our circle?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, hear me, friends, and the dogs want to participate.
They're participating.
Hear me, friends and ancestors from the east. Hear my voice carried on the air of clarity and truth. Watch over us as we cast our circle of safety and love.
See me, friends and ancestors from the south. See my flame of passion and creation seared into the energy of the universe. Watch over us as we cast our circle of limitless possibility.
Feel me, friends and ancestors from the west. Feel my love, fear, sadness, and joy washed into the waters of the rivers of compassion. Watch over us as we cast our circle of connection and motion.
Reach me, friends and ancestors from the north. Reach my feet and my hands, the earth and my toes, and the work of my fingers. Watch over us as we cast our circle of the earth.
Know me, friends and ancestors from the ether. Know my intent, know my heart, and know my spirit. Watch over us as we ask you all to join us in perfect love and perfect trust.
Hear, see, feel, reach, and know that the circle is safe, the circle is comfort, the circle is sacred, and the circle is cast. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
Woohoo! Thank you, Joy. That's one that I wrote for our internal group a long time ago. Changed it a little bit over the years, but yeah. Now, I do want to go ahead and say, like, I agree, Joy, that each lady does have a maiden, mother, and crone from my perspective, but I know many groups and pantheons of others that do not feel the same way, so I kind of am a little bit hesitant to just say that is how it is. For example, for me, when I worked with Ishtar, while I can see and feel Ishtar's triple goddessness, she generally is the representation of the maiden and has those other attributes, of course. But there were other people at the time I was working with, granted this was a long time ago too, and they just didn't feel the same way about that, so I kind of am a little hesitant to push it out, but I do agree. Personal, what do you call it? Practice. I think every lady and lord has all of the parts of all of them in them at all times, and we call to those that are closest to us to make things comfortable, or not comfortable, but workable. So I love that. We do it for every ritual that we do. This was like I said, this is what we do for our Esbats and our Sabbats. It's what we do when we're at our house for our own invocations. That's the way we do it, because it's very, I hate to say generic, but I wrote it generically because I wanted it to come through the senses of each element versus like a watchtower or a dragon specifically or an element specifically. I kind of wanted that whole just roll up. Maisha, welcome. So glad to see you in here. We are going to go video live in about 5 minutes. We're just getting a final touches, aka the mimosas, ready. Because our Sunday service comes with champagne. No, it's the cheap stuff, but still, it's bubbly with orange juice, right? 11:30. Is that 11:30 your time? Or my time? Our time, Eastern. Steph. Because we obviously want to attend. Now I have my 3 o'clock thing with Malice, the special thing, but we love watching your tarot, so if we can catch it, we definitely will. And I completely get what you were saying earlier about, not working with Hecate because so many people that are kind of, shits. Okay, so we probably can I'll be right getting prepped for our 3 o'clock, but I'm sure, I hate missing that because I have so much fun. But good luck, have fun with that, and, showers are always important. And thank you for sharing, by the way. I appreciate getting helping us get more people in to come visit and stop in, and that is how you build community, and I appreciate that. And it's also how I get onto that the crystal site that you were talking about, right? Because I'm obsessed now. Kelly, welcome. Yes, pop champagne. I'm surprised Rook actually got it popped, because usually he's afraid of it. It would be nice if Rook knew how to edit some of our videos. I have to do all the editing, and man, it is a lot. Oh, really? You get a lot of my stuff.
You're welcome.
Thank you for spilling it. That is a mimosa. All right. let's go ahead and go live on video so we can get to the next.
Let's see if the
steps.
doggies will cooperate. Good morning.
Morning. As you can see, we've actually changed a little bit of stuff around. We've moved some things. We've cleaned our table a little bit. This is clean, don't judge. This is supposed to be our workshop, but there's no room to workshop anything on it. So we've had to move that out to the garage. And then we have some new things behind us, if you want to see on both sides, that side, and I don't want to punch Rook in the face, but on that side. So we went to the antique store and picked up some really cool new stuff. So yes, I'm excited to. We picked up those 2 end cabinets. So everything in this room is pretty much from that antique store. But we picked up the 2 new cabinets to work on both our shadow and our personal altars, which, you know, for the most part, all of our altars are together with our workings, but we'll have our 2 personal altars over here. You can tell which one's Rook's because of that image right there. It looks so small in the video.
I know. Oh, I was watching that Steph. I jumped a couple times. That was really cool, that video you put. And I don't know if it shows on the screen, but we've got our orange lanterns out for Lunasaw coming up.
Woot woot.
Whoop whoop.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yeah, so we picked up a nice haul of stuff. So I wanted to talk about, like, number 1, thrifting.
I love
antiquing.
Antiquing.
Now, interestingly, if I'm not mistaken, when I first met Rook, he hated thrift stores. Hated them. Hated them.
Allergic, even.
So I have fun with them. I think they have always been part of my life, and we find some really cool stuff. So we have a great flea market in Fort Myers, the Flea Masters. We need to hit there again soon. And then we have the antique, what's called Paradise now, but the Paradise Antique in Fort Myers also. Some really cool places. So we went and got some fun stuff. So we're going to just share a little bit of the things that we found while we're there. First thing I want to share, well, other than those 2 bookcases and the candelabras you see on the corners for our working altars.
I'll go point to the bookcases. Can you see me?
Yeah, I'm sure.
This is one.
Yep. So
We're
that
thinking
is
about painting them black.
Yeah, we're thinking about painting them all black.
And this is 2.
So Rook's got his shadow. Well, we both have our shadow altars built into these, but they will ultimately be, for me, the dedication to the Lord and Lady of the earth. So that's the green man and green woman archetypes. We're building those up, and then his side is currently with Santa Muerta, also known as Saint Martha. Just kidding.
She's not.
She's going to smite me one day.
Be careful. She bites.
She also has a sense of humor. So, and she knows that I don't disrespect her because I don't want to die. But anyway, so that was it. You know, we wanted to show those things. I got this. I have a thing for oil lamps. We have a bunch of them around the house, but this oil lamp. So you can set it on here. This is a cobalted oil lamp, a miniature, and it is
cerulean.
I don't know that I'd call it cerulean, but if you can not break it, but just kind of hold it to the side. You don't have to get up, you know.
I don't want to break it.
That was the whole purpose.
Is that cerulean?
So this was a find, and really, really nice, fun piece that I like to collect when I find them, to go with the other ones that we have up there and around the house. We use these for our rituals. We use them, you know, when we did Silent Supper, which I cannot wait to do that again this year. I know Silent Supper, I think this year it's going to be different. I don't know that we're hosting it this year, but I would like to. That's something I want to do forever.
Yeah,
The
that's
Silent Supper is
freaking
amazing.
awesome.
So
Especially
yeah,
when they come through.
that is one of the finds. So you can hand that back to me.
Oh, you turned it off.
You've got problems.
I have issues.
I also picked up, and these are just, you can get these anywhere. I think they're cute, and I get them every once in a while. I use them for incense. So we picked up 4 of these little crystal spoons, and these all came from that.
These are cute.
I
might have to hold these up.
Yeah, you don't even have to get up. Just hold it over there.
This is my way.
Yeah, but every time you get up, you shake all the cameras.
This is my way.
I'm just going to turn it off, and we'll never use it again then.
Oh, you shall not.
Just give it a second.
See the tips of them with the crystal?
Yeah, little crystals. So these are made at, or not made, but they're at, again, the antique shop, which one of the little, they're like, it's almost like a flea market, but really like not, it's antique stuff, obviously, for the most part. So there was this one little cube area where they had these, a lot of witch things, and we're like, that's pretty cool. So we picked those up too. Those are for incense. I don't know if I said that. I can't remember. I use them for incense. You can give them back to me now.
Yeah. You don't want them.
You can't see them when they're way down. Okay. But it's a good way to get some incense onto your coals when you use charcoal. The other thing that I think is really cool with them is really just supporting these small business owners and these people that are selling in these areas, because I don't need spoons. I've got tons of wooden ones. I have all kinds of things, but it's the supporting of those that are finding these things and putting them together, and the local artists. That's the whole reason we really do spend that money when we go out there, when we can.
Yeah, it's every time we go, Kelly, we find different things. Like we found neat candelabras, and you never know. We try just to go without expectation, because every time we go, something just is like, it's me, get me. They have the coolest table. It's like an oval wood table painted black, and painted on the top of it is a spirit board. I would love to have that, but it was $2,600 and now it's $1,300. It's still
too much.
A little bit much, but
yeah, but it is an
fun.
old solid wood table that they painted the whole entire. It's beautiful. No way we can afford it. Awesome. Thanks, Steph. Appreciate it always. Some more finds. I think Rook is going to end up going back today when I do the podcast to getting something else that we probably shouldn't get, but they're beautiful chairs to replace some of the ones we have. Anyway, so this I'm going to give just the lid. Joy, I want you to pay attention to this one. I don't know, I haven't done any research on it. I saw it, it called to me, and I had to get it. It is a 1988, kind of hard to see, but it's the Celtic Tree Oracle by Liz and Colin Murray, who I do not know of. It has some really, really cool stuff in it. Now I have a version of these cards, like a deck of these cards and the imagery somewhere else, but this is an all wooden case. The book it's pretty old. It's based on lots of trees and plants, herbs, and other things in the alphabet, the Ogham. It has some super incredibly cool layout sheets, first, second, third circles and recording. And the coolest thing, it has like a receipt book where you can write down your reads for people. And it's like the old style. Yeah, it's like an old style Mad Libs where you write the name, date, the question. I've never seen this before. I saw it and I'm like, I yanked it for $4 freaking.
This is the receipt
That's
book?
the receipt book. Like, it's so weird. Like, you can, I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. Like I said, I have these cards, but I've never seen this, like, it's a solid wood box. It's, all the cards are here. They're smaller. They're used. We're going to cleanse them. But to get that with the little receipt book and the circling, and it looked like it was written on a typewriter. Let's put it that way. Like, I get so excited to find these. These cards are copyright 1988. But I was just like beside myself to find this old little deck style thing. So it's so cool. Super exciting. Like, this was, again, $5. See? I said 4, but I meant 5. $5. Somebody sold these for $5. Like, how? They don't know, but I'd have paid like 50 for them. Sorry, I got really excited because that was a fun one. But this was just like I don't know, just to capture them. Like I said, I've got the new deck, but the energy in these is so different than the deck that I have, the fresh copy. It is so, just different. It's so the energy's different on them. But yeah, it's a hardwood. You can hear it. Hardwood box. All right, I'm gonna turn that off. It's literally hardwood, and I just was beside myself when I found this. And they're all it's like a whole set. You don't get this kind of stuff anymore with cards and things, and it's just kind of a little sad actually. But so yeah, there's the whole thing together in its box, and I thought that would be pretty cool. We are. But that's not the only deck I got. So these other decks I just haven't seen before. And I'm not sure if I'm sure maybe Amazon or somewhere has them. But, it's still...
It's neat when you find ones that aren't you don't find them mass-produced, readily available.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Well, and not only that, but like these, I haven't even checked to see if maybe they are mass-producible, mass-produced or whatever. I just haven't looked. But I've not seen them in my grand scheme of looking for things.
Drooling.
So usually at this place they would find them. Now this looks like a newer deck. This other one that we got, it's the Enchanted Blossoms by Carla Morrow. And these are a new deck. Like I just haven't seen them anywhere before. So these are really, really pretty. I'm gonna go back over so Rook can show you just a couple. Here we go.
Okay, Enchanted Blossoms.
So some of you may have seen these, but when you see the cards that go with them, they're freaking awesome.
Oh wow, these are cool.
Yeah.
Peace, protection.
I'm pretty sure these are a mass-produced deck, but I've never seen them before, so I yanked them.
This is the one for peace.
Also used. If you're going to get into what our theme is going to be here in a minute today.
Protection. Let's see, I wonder if
these are 2021, so these are really new too. 2019, 2021. So we will be pulling Celtic Tree Oracle cards today for our tarot at noon, so that will be a thing for sure. So you can see how the images are just they really pull animal and plant in together, like some other decks we've recently talked about. So yeah. The next and last one, which we'll get to, so I can put those back up, and then we'll move on to some of our other topics today. But you can kind of see a theory here. We're going used, things that may have been utilized or considered broken. Is going to be our main topic today, actually, I think. Last deck that we picked up at this wonderful antique place. Melissa, welcome. Thank you.
Hey, Melissa. Good morning.
Is the Illustrated Bestiary.
Bestiary. Is it? Yeah. Let's see if you can see that. Bestiary. It's an oracle, right?
Yep. Now these are also really neat cards. They are definitely Oracle deck, Oracle sized. They are very animal oriented, bird oriented. There's a lot of different animals in them.
Hey Doug, good morning.
With some
welcome.
Things. So the cool thing is, for those of you that are just coming in, we are going to circle back around with the Celtic Tree Oracle at noon and do some tarot reads. So. It was kind of a last minute thing, but it was so exciting to go again. It's been so long. We need to go to the flea market, Flea Masters too again.
Do they sell fleas?
They do not. It's weird because it's the flea market that to me has the best food.
They
Like,
do
really
have the best food
food
vendors, absolutely. They have the best Mexican food, best everything.
Yeah. So yeah, these are
are really pretty cards. I
Yeah.
love all the greens, blues, oranges, browns.
Yep, I do too. So these are some cards that we're going to have to get used to. We're going to have to mess around with a little bit, but I wanted to just kind of show you, if you have the opportunity to, number one, don't think that just because it's an antique shop that it's expensive. As you know, the most and most awesome deck out of these that we discussed was this Celtic or Tree Oracle, the older style, for $5. So super cool on that one. It doesn't take a lot of money sometimes. If you want a deck, you can find it if you can have it call to you. The other ones are great too. I enjoyed those. They're used again, and I got them at a pretty good discount, probably less than half of what they would have cost outside. So to me, it's always good to go looking. Like, you never should, especially thrift stores, things like that. You just have to go in not expecting anything and look. You can find all kinds of stuff. We find bowls that we can use for offerings. We find lots of really cool candelabras, like the ones back there that Rook was talking about, that we use to light up our room when we're doing our shadow work, so that we're doing it by candle. And then we have our huge brass candelabra that we have. That's our 5-pillar for all of our what do you call it, altar, ether.
Also picked up
Astral.
at Paradise Antique Mall.
Oh yeah, it was. Like this whole room, I'm not kidding. Like this back here, the big bookshelf, and you can't see the other three. $1,000. It sounds like a lot of money, but for these are solid wood. They're not particle board. They're not. They are solid wood. That big one behind us, which is probably 7 or 8 feet tall because we have 10-foot ceilings.
This one.
And then the two in front of us that are 6 feet tall. All of them, all 4 of them together, with that solid wood. So it was in our trunk. We have a huge trunk that is nothing but incense. Paranormal, you can find them sometimes in with the books. Sometimes. Not as easy to find oracle or tarot cards that actually there, but yeah. I have always, like, thrifting has always been a thing for me. It's amazing. So when we get down to it, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to talk about used things and broken things. That's been in our list for a while, and we're going to talk about those. And we're going to use that also to kind of segue into cleansing items that have been used with some practices. So we'll go ahead and start rolling through some of our topics.
Yes.
I think we're going to need refills very soon.
Yes, we will.
Our next Sabbath, or Sabbath if you want to call it that, I don't like that, is calendarized August 1st. We did talk about this last week, and Joy, I know we've talked about it. Our thoughts, not theoretically, what it is, solarly, lunarly, and universally, it's probably going to be closer to the 4th or the 5th. So our Lunasaw celebrations will likely be that weekend, since I'm usually out. And we've talked about this every week. Every week we talk a little bit about Lunasaw, or Lammas in some cases. Lunasaw, excuse me, is usually what I use. And talk a little bit about it each time. So last week we talked a little bit about the altar setups, and this week I was going to do some more and get some pictures and put a little slideshow together for you guys of some altars, but they were all so freaking commercial. They were perfect and beautiful. And none of my altars have been like that.
Mm-mm.
Like none of them. They have been Joy, especially at the UU at the Grove. The altars are the kids picking flowers and putting them on there, and people bringing things that are meaningful to them and putting them on. And that's what an altar should be. If you have a Lunasaw altar that is all blue and you like it, then that's what you do.
All good.
You do it.
Yeah.
I'll give you some samples, though. Some examples of what we normally would put on are things that are orange and red and yellow and sun and bright. Sunflowers, bright yellow flowers, chrysanthemums, anything that is bright and yellow and sun-like. Bread, especially if you bake your own bread, you can put bread on there for yourself and for your offerings.
Which we have to make our Lunasaw bread again.
Yes, we do. We got to do that soon. We have bells. Chalices, of course, all the standard stuff you would put on an altar. You can have representations for. One of the things that I like to use for representation of water, obviously in Florida, is shells. Shells represent water, but they also have a ton of earth energy in them because they are made usually from limestone, calcium carbonates, or is that backwards? Regardless, they're made with elements of the earth. So those are all good things to utilize for those representations. And the most important thing that we're going to talk about today, I'm not going to allow to be discussed until I have another mimosa.
Okay.
But I can go make them if you want while you talk about corn dolls.
I do not mind to make
Oh, well,
them.
he's going to make them. I was going to make them. Although you did do a really good job.
Did a really good job, didn't I? And I'm happy to talk about corn dolls. I'm excited to talk about corn dolls.
So, yes, we are going to talk about corn dolls. No, it's okay. We do a lot of decorating and changing and moving things around in different ways because, you know, it's good to have your space the way you want it. Cornucopia, yes. Oh, can't believe I forgot that. We actually have a cornucopia and fill it with lots of bright and colored objects. Corn, really going to be a good thing for a Lunasa thing. Maize, actually, or there's another name for it I can't remember. It's not field corn. It doesn't even have corn or maize in the name of it. It's like long grass, maybe, I think is what it was called. I could be wrong. But long grass is that really small corn that, you know, is where our corn came from, which is interesting because we talk about, you know, modifying things and how food items have changed, or GMOs and all of those things. I'm not going to get into that topic, but our corn is not what corn was like in the beginning. Just like apple trees, this is not the apples that we started with, that we have now, and that stuff has changed over many years. Especially in the United States, of what was here, what wasn't. Apples, I don't even think were here. I think crab apples were the only apple-like thing we had in the land here in the United States. So, welcome back. Definitely a time of food and bread. Oh, thank you. I didn't expect this. But we wanted to talk about the corn dolls because we are planning on either doing this as a workshop, and you know, we're not going to do a tutorial like how to do a corn doll. We're going to either live or record us making them, which will be more fun, I think. And then, you know, kind of like we did with the scrying mirrors or things in the past, so you can kind of do it with us, and hopefully we'll be having that with Joy. Or we may do it on next Sunday's service, depending on how long it might take. Probably not. I'm thinking it's going to be separate. But again, it's not going to be a how-to. There's enough of those. Ours is going to be this is how it works when you do it as a group with friends and tribe, because that does change your craft.
Yeah, so what is a corn dolly? I did some research. It's a representation of breed.
It's not a corn dog, because that's all I can think of right now, because I'm kind of hungry.
It's a representational doll, and no, it's not always corn. It is versatile and environmentally friendly way of using sympathetic and representational magic. Used for fire and harvest festivals. Traditionally made from harvested sheaves of grain, not corn, of European origin. The version from corn only came from the American belief system. The term corn refers to any type of grain or grass that is fed to livestock. Traditionally, the dolls represented breed and her blessings of warmth, light, and abundance. They were put around windows to bless the home, bedrooms to keep away nightmares, on top of the hearth for warmth, by entrances for protection, and placed outside to look over the fields. Can also be used to represent the crone aspect of breed during the harvest period, Lunasa. Lunasa. Also made during Imbolc to represent the maiden aspect of breed. Sometimes the dolls made during Lunasa were stored over the winter and brought back out during Imbolc to represent the crone transforming into the maiden.
Mm-hmm.
In some traditions, the biddy or corn doll is placed into a little bed along with a symbol of male fertility, which makes sense as Imbolc is a time of planting and planting seeds. Modern uses, these dolls now represent any being that fits your choosing. Goddess, god, helper, a friend, loved one, or even yourself. Protectors, helpers, healers, magic weavers, or beacons of magic. Could be like a magical assistant helping with spells or watching over your altar. After their use, you can put them back into the earth and give thanks to the earth for their magic. So that's a little bit about corny dolls, or corn dollies.
Corny dolls?
Corn dollies.
Got it.
History, uses, and current uses.
So talk a little bit about...
I just think they look cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring in a little bit of my shadow. I know a lot of you have heard me constantly say I have no creative bone in my body. And I know that's not true because I used to be extremely creative as a child, especially with words and crafts and making things with my hands, which I just stopped doing as an adult. So why are we so excited about doing the corn dollies? I think, for me, it is the reminder that when you get with other people and you create things in a way that you can imagine thousands or even longer years ago, or maybe not, maybe it was just last year, but it's still a connection to the past of doing the motions and representations of things that are really exciting, and creating things that have meaning and connecting them, because thought is power and energy. So it's super cool. I think it's really fun to really kind of go down that whole path of why do we do crafting things? Like, why is that important? If you're not, if you're in new practice or even old practice, if you're not making and creating and transforming things, I would say, from my experience, you're really missing out, because I have been really missing out with some of those things. I can tell you some of the best spiritual times I have had.
Corn dogs? Yeah. I think I said
Yes.
corny dolls.
Yeah, corny dolls. Some of the best energetic things I've done have been when there's just a couple of us together and kind of go and do these crafts, like the making the blends. That's actually something that's really easy to me that I just really love, is making our blends for different times. And we've started, like with Joy, this was Joy's idea and it was very smart. When we have a little bit of leftover, I tend to like to burn it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing that anymore. When there's a little bit left over, we're going to put it together and have one mass blend at the end of the year.
Cool.
And we're going to burn that as a part of the New Year's process.
That's a
And
really
then
nice.
we'll do it again the next year, yeah.
That's a nice idea.
So that's one of the reasons why crafting is so important. Even just making the face wash, which is so easy, that intenting and manifestation. Every time I go to use our face wash, I remember putting it together and talking about it and the intents that I put in, whether I like it or not. That's kind of the intent process. Paranormal. Yeah, I can absolutely help you explain kind of how sex magic works as far as my understanding of it, but we can write that down and hit that a little bit later. That is actually a good topic we should talk about, because I think there's a lot of misunderstandings, in my opinion, about what sex magic is and kind of what we use it for and how it works, how we use it, because there's more than one way to use it, and it is very powerful stuff.
I wonder if Aleister Crowley practiced sex magic or he was just doing sex. I'd like to read about him. That would be somebody I would think would use sex magic.
Yep.
He is, the most perverted practitioner ever? I'm interested in him, by the way.
Yeah. And the thought process, just real quick for me, for sex magic is, if again my understanding, it's the moments of orgasm that is where that energy of creation lies, because that is what the act of sex is, and ultimately it's harnessing that energy of that creation and utilizing it in other magic.
And building and causing that magic or energy to intensify before release, right? I think.
Yeah.
Ooh, cool. You'll have to share with me later, Dragon Dancer.
Yes. So that's corn dogs. We're excited to do that. We're hoping we can get the video out on that too, and kind of get that put together. Moon phases. I wanted to talk about moon phases in a little more detail than I normally do. I use lunaf.com, I think it is, or .org, lunaf, to get my moon phase information. I am really comfortable with my ability to know waning and waxing and all that stuff. I just don't know the percentage of illumination, which I like, and I also have to look up what zodiac or what constellation it is in from a lunar perspective. So I wanted to mention, when we talk about, for example, this week is waxing gibbous, 85% illuminated. Waxing, I know I want corn dogs so bad right now. The waxing part of this is the moon is growing. Gibbous comes from the word gib or gibu, which is a Latin word for pregnant or enlarged or protuberant. Those all come from that same base. And then we say something like, the moon is in Sagittarius. Well, right now we're in time of Cancer. How can it be in Sagittarius? So we're talking about how the moon is progressing through on a 28-day cycle of the moon. It is a lunar Sagittarius. Solar is where the sun is what we're talking about when we're saying, like, right now is Cancer. So if you're born, June 22nd-ish to July 22nd-ish, I don't know the exact dates, that would be Cancer. And here we are, middle of early July, middle of the zodiac, and we're saying, well, it's in Sagittarius. Well, it is, because the sun is in Cancer, and that is what we generally talk about when we're saying, like, you're a Cancer, your sun sign. So with the moon, and the moon changes usually every 2 to 3 days, so it's in Sagittarius right now, and it's going to be moving through over the next couple of days into Capricorn. And then the full moon will occur while we're in Capricorn. And then it's going to continue to move through into Aquarius. So full moon is going to have Capricorn energy when it starts and Aquarius energy when it ends from a lunar perspective. So from the softer feminine side and perspective.
Corn Maiden. Sounds good to me.
I don't know. I like Corn Dolly because to me that kind of represents what originally, when you look it up, a lot of it's with kids, right? Usually kids are the one often making, well, not only kids, obviously, but it's often seen even in today's cultures, kids making it, and that's what they would call it as a representation. But I like both.
I definitely get the respect part.
Dragon Dancer, I've never been able to do sex magic because I cannot focus. I would not be able to focus on the actual intent when that happened, because it wouldn't happen. But that, I agree. I think that would be very interesting to try to figure out. Yeah, and that makes sense. I only started looking it up when we started doing this conversation because I could, because it was on there for that Cauldron Witch. So I'm trying to look for somebody made a comment and I can't find it now. I wonder if it's gone. Planets with theoretically some spirits don't need to work with moon phase and others do. Yes, absolutely agree with that. Although for the human being, it generally helps to be in the right phase for your mindset, but for the entity, not always necessary. Correct. I agree. I don't want to say correct because there's not correct or incorrect. I tend to practice that way is what I really should say. We need a new word for it. I don't know. But yeah, so you're drawing, you want to draw something, you do waxing. Well, the big thing about waxing is, building it up, right? You build the wax on, wax off. That's how I remember it. Wax on, wane off, actually, really is what it should say. Shut up. Don't judge me. So the gibbous right now, waxing gibbous 85%. Again, that's just telling us we're getting close to a full moon, which we are about 2 to 3 days out of the full moon. What we will see as we hit full is that energy going and shifting over. Right now, Capricorn is probably going to be a pause energy or a slow energy or a take a breath energy as we run into the Aquarius, and then it's time to make a decision. Where do I get that from? Like, where did that information that I just said came from for me? It's a little bit of personal intuition and then a little bit of knowledge about the zodiac. It's going to be different for each zodiac person and how they respond because perception's different on everybody, right? Yeah. But the idea is if we're in a waxing gibbous, we're going into a full moon, we're taking Capricorn, which is the cardinal earth energy, and we are pushing it through into the Aquarius air energy. We are making that change from the stable earth to the air. Air and earth are not what we call compatible to each other. They get along, obviously, because you need air, but Air and earth are not on the same wavelength as maybe earth and water would be, for example. So that's something that you kind of just think about and you look through. If those things that people tell you don't resonate with you, go to yourself. Think about, what does it mean to wax the moon? What does it mean when the moon is getting bigger and more protuberant? You're getting bigger and more protuberant. You want to be bigger and more magnanimous. What does it mean to be cardinal earth? That means that it is the earth. And you look at what that means and you move into that process and you think about how that's going to affect things. And what is that transition time as we're going from Capricorn to Aquarius from a lunar perspective on the full moon? Well, that means that my full moon energy, which is about not new beginnings, but about the heightened, most powerful moments in our life and the big things that we want to keep and hold on to, then I'm going to want to hold on to those things from an earth perspective, and then I'm going to want to let them go through air. So you can make these understandings yourself. You don't have to go to a website to have somebody tell you what your horoscope is. I challenge all of you, if you don't already, to kind of learn about the symbology and the different things that are around you. Instead of saying, I'm a Virgo sun, and having somebody tell you, well, the Virgo is and it is, think about the Virgin, the purity. Think about the sun being the biggest and brightest thing about somebody. So the biggest and brightest thing about a Virgo is generally their purity, but thinking also that purity can be very, very negative to a person. And you run through those different thoughts and feelings on what the sun sign and the moon sign, each of those things mean, and you'll have your true horoscope. Because nobody can write it in a book somewhere, in my opinion, and tell you what it should be. And I wanted to kind of hit that when we talked about the moon, because I can give energies of what I feel and how things work, but ultimately, just like my opinion on dreams can only be interpreted by the individual who has them. You can have outside people help you with the symbology that is somewhat the same for each other, for the big systems, but ultimately the symbols are what your brain has decided the symbols are. So an outside person can't tell you what they mean. I feel the same way with planetary energy. We can tell you the generals, we can tell you the ideas behind them, but you as an individual have to interpret them for yourself to get the true astrology of the process. Yeah, and then if you don't know your time of birth, you just kind of guess. I'm betting it was at night, but knowing Joy and her personality, was probably at 12:01 right afternoon. 11:59 if I had to peg a birth time for Joy.
I was 12:01 a.m. Born Thanksgiving Day.
Thanks for giving your mama a headache. So anyway, I don't want to belabor too much on that, but I just thought it was important to kind of share when I go. I like astrology and I like the moon stuff and knowing where the moon is and utilizing the energy because it helps my brain get into the right cycle. But I do want to point out, the same way with just about anything, you have to interpret the symbols for yourself. Others can help you and give you guidance, but ultimately, you need to figure that out, And I think it's a lot easier than you think it is.
I think it's neat to know your time of birth. I think that's really cool.
10:27
p.m.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know mine because it was I was a C-section. I did not want to come out and still don't want to go anywhere near those things. Next full moon is the buck moon in Capricorn, and that is July 13th.
Like Steph said, it's a super moon.
The super moon. And so what does the buck moon mean? It just means that it's the buck moon, the full moon. The buck moon is because the antlers are full or in their height of growth, in the United States at least, peak antler growth. But knowing that it's going to full moon in Capricorn on the 13th, and then we're going to kind of move into Aquarius on the 14th. I generally have the day before and the day after, and the day of is all full moon days. I kind of group them together for energy part, and I think that is kind of fun. The next new moon will then be 15 days after that on July 28th in Cancer, even though the zodiac will have already moved for the sun into Leo. So it's going to be very interesting. I know, Joy, you've said it a couple times. I've been feeling it. I even mentioned it today earlier in the group. I think you are on the nose where we need to do some beach work. We need some water and sand work right now while we're still in Cancer, and that needs to happen soon. I don't want to talk for a minute. Why don't you tell us about shadow work and where we are?
Shadow work. So I love the shadow work process we're on following Christine Chetty's book. It's very slow. So like the first 3 chapters were mainly a build-up on meditation, grounding, centering, preparation, which is good for somebody like me. I've never done intentional shadow work. But yesterday we were finally pulled our first shadow spread, the Star of Discovery, and which we drew 6 cards. It's all major arcana, the greater secrets. And it was really neat because the exercise, you pull the cards, you journal about your initial feeling or intuition about what the card means to you. And now we're going back to each one and going into the cards. And there's certain categories where they fit on the spread that you meditate on and use that for the shadow work. So we're finally into the working part, and it's been really cool.
It has been very cool. So, yeah, before I even go a little bit into that, I do want to mention, yes, Dragon Dancer, the Distance Reiki session, Full Moon, which is July 13th. I believe that's Wednesday. Is that the day you're doing it? And then is 9:30 the time, because I like to plug into those.
Absolutely. I love Reiki in any form, so.
We will definitely plug in. Anybody who wants to, it would be fun.
And do you do it on like Facebook or like a video call, or is it just something we individually plug into and connect to at the given date and time?
I believe it's an individual plug-in.
Okay.
We'll wait to see just in case. Now this, Brad Rook, is our local pine tree from right around the corner.
Oh, that smells amazing.
It is nothing more powerful to me than locally harvested resins. Oh my God, it smells so good. So yes, 9:30.
Cool.
And Paranormal Witch, number 1, you do it as you can. There is no timeline. Feel free to ask us questions, though. We are working to schedule a live session right now. We're having trouble getting everybody's schedules together to kind of talk about the first 3 or 4 chapters and the first Star of Discovery layout that has been very eye-opening. We are going to share our very personal thoughts and feelings on that in our next episode. But yeah, it was a lot. It's very good, very good. So yeah, individual petitions. And you know what, I like it that way. Like, I've enjoyed doing that. The last one I was able to, the one before that I didn't. I just wasn't paying attention. But it is now on my schedule to do the Reiki. And I don't know and never have learned Dragon Reiki, but I have been speaking with somebody who I really want to learn from to do that, and I need to reach out to him before I forget again, because I want to take that class.
Yeah, I understand and agree on that, Steph. Sometimes when you send those petitions up or requests, they're private. Yeah.
So yeah, shadow work. Oh, I said episode 3. Episode 4 just came out with our please don't judge or joke us meditations.
Our meditations, our first attempt.
we have found that even regardless of how we think we sound, it is so much easier to meditate when you listen to a record back of your own. And I really enjoyed making those visuals to go along with them. That was fun for me.
Absolutely. And I hate my voice. A lot of people probably do. That after recording that meditation and listening to it back, it works, guys. If you haven't tried it, record it on a little recorder or an MP3 player and play it back. And I don't know if it's just the fact that your own voice or someone that's in your life voice is so familiar and native to you that it helps, but for me anyway, that did really help. So, and then our other thing we've been trying to do is Operation Network. We're trying to really plug back into people with community and communications. We were all so isolated the the past 2.5 years. It's really good. It's been great to meet different people, interact with you all, and it's just a great sense of community, even online. So it's been really, really nice. Really nice. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome, awesome. Is that you coming back? Oh.
Yes. Sorry, I'm on call for work, so I can't. I have to take calls when they
Me too, 24 hours. So don't be offended if you see me look at the phone or
I
have
will
to
be.
take a call. I'm responsible for a multi-million-dollar facility that I can go to jail for if anything happens.
I'm responsible for 90.
Will you go to jail?
I could because I give recommendations that they can trace back to me for sure. I have a license. Why do you think I have personal liability insurance?
I was just talking.
$6 million, by the way.
We talk.
It's not life insurance. It's work and professional liability.
I would never. Oh Lord, forgive me. If anything happens to him, I didn't do it. So I went over like the Operation Network, how it's been really nice.
Yes.
Online and in person, reconnecting with people and doing that community stuff and feeling connected again after being isolated for so long. And
Absolutely.
Don't get me started on that. But
I will probably not be live. I would go live on a full moon, but not this one because I will not be here. I will be in another state for work. So we are trying to figure out ways that we could potentially do something live that would make sense and be kind of, process work. But when we're separated, it's just we can't seem to get that to work out in our favor. Operation Network. Yes, is very in swing. I'm learning where my limits are on a couple of things, and I need to probably put some guardrails on a few things that's going to happen, and probably piss some people off here in a little bit. But yeah, that's going to be fun. Well, that's part of plugging back in and re-networking ourselves back into what's happening around us. And so I think that is important. Shadow work has definitely given me a boost. Yeah, but I agree, Cauldron. But think about it.
Cool, that's cool.
I'm traveling. I could use my phone, I guess, but I mean that's not the greatest video or picturing, and I'm in a hotel, so I'd have to be outside in areas where I'm not familiar with people I'm not familiar with, usually in a city that I'm not familiar with necessarily, and
Hey, Violet Zombie.
carrying stuff around and taking equipment with me on top of the stuff that I need for my job, it just isn't conducive for me when I'm away. It doesn't work. I wish it did, but that's just not something that I can necessarily do. And then live rituals for me also I have no care for it. It either is on or it's not. We've done a couple.
Absolutely, Steph.
So
I feel you there.
What?
If you're doing a ritual and the focus is on cameras and audio, it's like it detracts from the working. Sometimes.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
That's permanent, perfect statement for life. When you're out recording with your phone, you're not paying attention to the concert. That's the same. But so the thing is, I do, and I'm going to say this, I agree. It lessens the potency of the ritual because you're not 100% there if you can't separate them. But that's something that in your shadow and in your personal work, you should be able to learn to do. You separate that video and you set it up and you say, if it's supposed to work, it does, and if it doesn't, and you let it go. And you move on to the rest of the workings that you're doing if that's something you want to do, right? If you don't, then you don't, because it's just not part of what you want to do.
It doesn't.
I think it's that simple.
Yeah.
Like for me, when we've set it up a few times, I worried about it beforehand, but then I didn't care about it afterwards. And you know what? The sound didn't come out right. And guess what? Did it anyway and didn't care. And then, recording it, though, for me is a little bit harder because I don't know that I want recordings of those things lasting forever. I feel like they need to have their space and then be let go. So, like, for me, I would love to do a live ritual, but not record it, if that makes sense. Like, that would be fun for me, I think. Do it, like, live and then not record it because I don't know. I would want to let go. And yeah, it depends. Did he actually come in and drop something off?
I don't think so.
I just want to make sure that the dogs aren't going to start barking. um. So I do the same thing. Well, with tarot and some certain things, I will send a personal, a private YouTube link to them for those things. But I think it just depends on what you want to do. And how you feel, and you do the best you can. But I agree with you. I think it does take away from it, especially if you're constantly worried about it. And what Rook and I ended up doing is getting the Bluetooth lapel mics for sound. And you know what? We've done a couple of videos where the sound didn't come out that great, and we're just like, yeah, whatever. That's how it's supposed to be. I don't need it. That's part of my shadow, by the way. My shadow work, which is striving for perfection when perfection is not possible. And then when I don't reach perfection, I can then chastise myself for not being good enough. And when I chastise myself for not being good enough, then I can actually say, well, then it doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be good anyway. So I basically create this whole cycle where I allow myself to be mediocre in some things.
Or just allow things to be the way they're supposed to turn out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so back to the original comment that got that started was full. I would love to do the full moon rituals live. And those I could even record, because those to me are very universally energetic, and they're universally shareable and acceptable to me for others when it comes to like the moon rituals. Like those are things that we would do in groups. And if I do it live or open, it's just doing it in a group. I don't know that anybody would really want to watch a moon ritual after the fact though, because it seems like that energy has changed or moved on. But problem for us being I'm in Virginia or New Jersey or Pennsylvania or South Carolina, who knows where, and Rook's here, and then for us to be able to get all that set up and get everything, that would be too much for me. Although I would love to.
I have enjoyed with a couple of groups doing ritual together via like Zoom or Butter or those kind of platforms.
Yeah.
And those, they weren't recorded, but they were just a way, because we are in different states, to get together and read through the ritual where we could see and hear. And those have been kind of nice. Actually, those have been pretty good, but I think if you're having to do the format where you're typing and all that takes completely away from the ritual, which was a group I was with a couple of years ago.
It has to be set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Like the video recording, the live, all of that has to be set it and forget it. And one of the things I really love about Canon and YouTube is they have a connection together where you can actually stream from your Canon camera live at any place with whatever lens you have. The problem is you have to have 1,000 followers in order to do it, and we're not in there yet. So,
and that's cool, Violet Zombie, that you see you're doing stuff, and that's kind of what we were talking about, making those things, crafting, and putting your energy into that witch box. I would love to hear about that. Like, not anything personal that you feel would take away energy from the box, but that, to me, that sounds like really good.
It's a great start.
It's awesome. Let me just say, there's another part to it. Was it up here a little bit? Oh.
Yeah.
But I don't know who my spirit guides or what practice fits me. Oh. Yeah. Perfect. And that's actually something we talked about yesterday. Practice that fits you, you will learn as you work with and do different things, and as you read books or you read online or talk to people. One thing with my shadow is I really just for so long felt like I wanted to be in a coven. But out of the 200 forms of witchcraft or practice, I never figured out like what that was. I think there's validity to solitary eclectic, but then doing things in groups with like-minded people. I tried 2 mystery schools, to gain knowledge and feel a connection.
Technically 3, because one of them morphed in the middle of us doing it.
And they just didn't work for me, and I was kind of down on myself. Like, why can't I figure out, why did I start 3 mystery schools and not finish any of them? Well, because the universe is telling me I need to read, and gain knowledge on my own. practice what is right for me. And then the group part comes from things like this and our local group. So that completely fulfills the need for me to do those things in a group, which is important to me. I think we're a large part solitary, but there's something to be said for me, not saying for everybody, to be able to raise energy with a group at times.
Absolutely.
It's needed and necessary for me, but don't worry about not knowing your guides or what practice is right for you. You can pull things in from anything and everything that you want.
Yeah, there was a conversation that I didn't really get into last night that on the Malice experience where we were talking about it, but I didn't engage it fully because of my own personal feelings on it. But when it comes down to listening to somebody says, "Oh, well, if you're working with the Egyptian pantheon, you can't work with a Celtic deity," or nobody's fucking business. Excuse my French. You work with what you work with to be comfortable, because that line between what is your mind thinking and what is your deity speaking will become apparent as you work on it and work through it, because it comes through almost like a gnosis kind of thing. Sure, if we have enough, don't have to open a new one.
We do.
Yeah, I don't want to open up a new one. But you'll really find that deity speaks in different ways to different people and different times to different people. Sometimes I hear deity in a different voice. I don't have schizophrenia, I promise. Sometimes it's my own voice. Sometimes it's just I know what to do. And it depends on which deity I'm working with. And you know what? To me, I work across pantheons because I feel that those energies are, and do, and will always be around, just in different manifestations to the masses is how we communicate with them. And that really is helpful. And like Dragon Dancer is saying, it's that group work and solitary practice. That's what we do. We do 3 practices. I do solitary by myself, paired with Rook, and then group with the rest of the group. And they're all different. They all have a different thing that they bring to the table.
And I would totally be down, Steph, in the future to do a Discord ritual together where we're all doing stuff together. I don't know about weekly.
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah, maybe not weekly, but definitely because my experience with that platform, it has been, it's nice. Yep. And you build the energy together, and it's really nice. So I would be interested in doing that in the future.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. I'm definitely, we've done that before. Like, that was one of the things that we were looking at actually restarting.
We tried it, yeah.
But people really weren't that interested in doing it somebody else's way. So it's the method of engagement for everybody to be happy with how that turns out is really what can be difficult. But, that's definitely something we want to do. I just don't know how that fits in with our time frames and how we do everything and all that stuff. So, but we definitely will look at that, because remember, you have to have boundaries and limits, right? Because we have to have downtime. We have to be able to breathe. Like, even today, I'm a little stressed out with this extra 3 o'clock thing we're doing. I want that time for me because I still have to pack for flying tomorrow, which is work and personal. Like, I have to pack my clothes, and I have to pack my book bag with my work computer, my personal computer. All that stuff has to go with me. And then I spend a whole day, 2 whole days actually in the airport when I leave and when I come back. So I can't do anything on Mondays and Thursdays, right? Because sometimes I don't get in until midnight on Thursday from work. And sometimes I leave at 6 a.m. Monday morning for work. So I don't get anything done on Sunday night. But Sunday I have to pack. So that takes a couple of time out of my day. We have this every week. I have Malice Experience every Saturday, plus the extra one that we have there. And we're doing weekly recordings remotely for the Eclipsing the Shadow. And I have to have time to read this stuff and write my notes on the stuff and think through it and actually practice. So we're a little spread, I think, thin to a degree when it comes to all of those things, because then when we do our rituals, it's kind of like we just do them. So I would say that I am a little on the end of I enjoy and like my time to myself when I need it. So I don't know that I would go to even say weekly or monthly, but I do think we should consider setting one up and seeing how it goes. That would be fun. And then if I'm not able to do it, Rook, you can still do it with the group, or the group can do it without us. Like, you don't need us to do it.
Yeah,
but we can help coordinate some of that, I think. That would be really fun. I agree.
11 fitting things that interest me and pray. That is awesome. Sounds perfect. Violet,
That's exactly what I would do, yeah.
that's exactly what I would do.
And when you, just real quick, when you do tarot daily, there's two things that I recommend when it comes to tarot. Number one, doing tarot daily, as in tarot reads for yourself or for your guidance, is always great. But maybe, and sometimes you can take just one. Take one tarot card over a period of time and really dig into the imagery and the process and the thought of it and all of it, how it goes. Because that's really important. So,
Angel numbers a lot. Awesome.
yeah, I know, Cauldron Witch. That's the thing. It sounds like Doug said. You have to have some recharge time. Well, this is recharging. This is recharging for me. Like, I truly enjoy this. But I also do want to read a little bit. I'm reading a couple of books at the same time. I'm reading one recommended by Scarlett. I'm trying to learn some things with her. I'm reading some dragon books recommended by Odin's Eye Tarot because I want to do some work with him. That's the Dragon Reiki I want to get invested in with him.
Cool.
That we talked about a couple months ago. And I am actually still working on my PhD.
Yeah, that's a lot.
There's a lot going on. I probably need to cut a couple of those things. And the thing is, the areas where I think I might end up having to cut are some things that are not going to be, it's going to be difficult.
Be safe, Willow.
Yes.
Drive safe.
So the tarot thing, like, I like to pull when I'm trying to reconnect, or maybe like, I work with the green man, the green woman archetype a lot. Like, that's been my biggest pushes lately. In the past, I've worked with Hecate, I've worked with Morgan, I've worked with a couple of different deities on different areas, different planes, different things. Every once in a while, when I'm working with the green man or the green woman, I don't feel the same connection after a while. Mm-hmm. And so you can either do a reconnection, which is a ritual where you basically go back to the very first ritual you did and kind of bring and pull all those things in. For the green man, it would be lots of outdoors type stuff, bonfire, drinking, having a good time. Dionysus is someone else I've worked with before, but I'll change over and slowly morph into other things as I do it. Meaning, if I'm feeling less of a connection, I might go back to the drawing board and try to pull out a new connection for something that's in that same representation. So, Violet, I hear that a lot. I think your intuition is probably excellent. I think what probably, and I could be wrong, I don't know you, but most people generally, when they say their intuition sucks and they have to look it up, it's because one of two things: your mind is blocking you from allowing it to just flow freely, or you are not giving it enough time to really kind of look into the imagery, or you maybe even not have the right deck. So for me, when I look at tarot, I always look at trends. I look at numerology, symbology, and those kind of things first. Can you look it up? Of course. But you think of things that involve that card or that response, right? When you get so hard on yourself to learn it and try to learn it by memorization, you will fail. Most people will fail, not everybody. For me, and we're going to do some tarot reading in a minute with a deck that I haven't used very much, so I don't know what it's going to be. We can look it up in the book. That is perfectly acceptable and okay. Now, I teach tarot not to look it up in the book, because we're going to describe the number that we see. We're going to describe the image, the colors, the patterns. And I can kind of tell you a couple of those if you want. When we go through it, I'll kind of do it that way so you can see it. Every Saturday morning, I do a Sat Tarot Day, which is basically a general read, and I really do it from a perspective of explaining how I come to the information that I come to, intuition-wise. And it's helpful to remember that your brain is what's blocking you. It's preventing intuition from coming through. And a lot of times, it's time and just allowing it. Like, I can tell you right now, if you pull a card out before looking at the book, just literally in your mind or even out loud, describe every single thing you see in that card, and then try to see what other things kind of go along with it. If I see in a card the woman that's wrapped in a shroud, running outside with a child, and it's snowing, and card is dark and it appears cold and there is stained glass in the card, then my message is a loving, caring mother is protecting her family from the institution. Because stained glass represents the church, first thing I think of anyway.
School.
Coldness, protection, protecting from the cold. She's wrapped up and she's willing to sacrifice everything and leave the institution to protect because that's more important. So those are kind of the things that I think about when I do tarot. It's like, and a lot of times when you do like a full tarot read and pull 3, 5, 7, 10 cards, it's overwhelming versus pull a card and just go through it and see how it makes you feel.
And that's literally what the work, our tarot shadow work author told us, as we pull the cards, just go with your gut on it. What do you see? Because the meaning, that's an author's meaning or somebody's meaning.
That's theirs, not ours.
That's their. But if you look at everything in the card and just go with what you see, that is the message that you're receiving to provide. So it's never wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And if somebody tells you that's not what that card means,
don't listen to them.
Don't listen to them. It is not that they're accurate. That's not what that card means to their system that they have subscribed to, and it is accurate and correct for that person, but not for you.
Right.
Is there a right or a wrong way to read tarot? I do believe there are traditional and non-traditional ways.
Yeah.
There are tried ways that have begot results, and there are ways that have been tried that do not beget results based on the practitioner. But right or wrong, I do not believe in when it comes to that. So hopefully that'll help you because we're getting ready to go into tarot. We've talked a lot about a lot of other things, but I want to hit the actual topic that we had, which is brokenness.
And I'm broken. Oh, is that copyright infringement?
Yes, the way you sing it, it's murder. Just kidding. So, I want to talk about something that I find very exciting. I've mentioned it before, and I have always wanted to do this. I am not a repairer of broken things. When something breaks, I throw it away, and I get a fresh, clean new one.
You get a new one.
Get a new one. That's the world we live in now. Things are very disposable.
Even cell phones,
Everything.
TVs. My God, TVs. You flat screen TVs.
I can't fix those with kintsugi.
You just throw it away and then you get a new one, right?
I have broken gemstones and rocks that I have that those I can't throw away no matter how hard I try, even if they break. I have a broken moonstone from like 10 years ago. I can't throw it away. It just doesn't feel right. So what am I going to do? And I've been wanting to do this for at least 10 years. Is start repairing things with kintsugi. Kintsugi, I don't know a whole ton about as far as where it came from and all that. I do know some. I've heard of some and I know where I learned about it years ago, but I've never done it. And so basically kintsugi is the art of repairing items with a precious metal or something that is beautiful and makes them into something new, right? So kintsugi is that idea that you can fix something and make it different, not better or worse, but different than what it was before. It will carry a new energy and it will still be utilizable, or you can utilize it.
It's got a different composition.
Yeah.
Even people that go through stuff and
exactly
repair themselves or repaired are different. They're composed. They're made up of different stuff.
Yeah, we are constantly and I hate to say humans break, but we do. Lots
People
of
break.
pieces and thoughts and things break within us at times where some are good. Some need to break, and then we need to remember, though, to clean them out. Not let that dirt sit there. You've got a clean house. Or a thing or an idea or a thought breaks, and we have the depression and the sadness. We don't live there. We move in for a few days, and then we move right back out. Clean house. Well, kintsugi's the same way with the things in front of us, or the ideas and pieces. So I have a Baphomet that you got me that came broken. I have, I couldn't fix the obsidian mirror because it was shattered into powder. There is no amount of kintsugi that'll get that back together. We have a broken chalice. I have a wolf figurine that is broken. And so normally I would kind of be like, I want to go buy a new one of these and throw them away. It's the same thing with my tarot cards that Lexi, my previous Samoyed that passed away last year, ate half of the deck. Well, guess what? I kept that deck, and it is still the most powerful deck I have. It's got dog teeth marks all over it. But you now are initiated into that club with VG.
Yeah.
Trying to run away with your Shadow Altar cards.
Yep.
But I want to read this. This is one of the things that somebody said. Her name is Christy Bartlett. When they talk about kintsugi, if you Google kintsugi, it comes up pretty quickly. And this is what she said about this Japanese practice of using silver, gold, and other precious metals to repair ceramics and figures and bowls and all kinds of things instead of throwing them away. Not only is there no attempt to hide the damage, but the repair is literally illuminated. So you're drawing your eye to the brokenness of it. It's a kind of physical expression of the spirit of Mushin. Mushin is often literally translated as no mind, but it carries connotations of fully existing within the moment, of non-attachment, of equanimity amid changing conditions. The vicissitudes, I have no clue what that means, but I'm usually good at pronouncing words.
Vicissitudes?
The vicissitudes of existence over time, to which all humans are susceptible, could not be clearer than in the breaks, the knocks, and the shattering to which ceramic ware is subject. The poignancy or aesthetic of existence has been known in Japan as mano no aware, a compassionate sensitivity, or perhaps identification with things outside oneself. So, in other words, not only are we fixing broken things, like we need to work on holding each other up and fixing each other with the most beautiful magic we can, it's drawing attention to the brokenness of it and making it illuminated and making it beautiful. And that is so exciting to me. So I tried to find the individual pieces and I couldn't anywhere. So I ended up going on to Amazon and getting a kintsugi repair kit right here. So it's got the glues in it and the silver fleece because I prefer silver to gold. And I'm going to use this to repair those items. And we're going to have some kintsugi and we're going to try to continue that path of repairing things that we love that can be repaired versus throwing them away. And I find it so much fun. I would love to get a group of people together, right, and do a whole kintsugi repairs thing. But I just find that it's very important that we talk about that brokenness of people and that repairing of people and things. We should be repairing each other or allowing each other to exist in that repair. So there's even, if you get the kintsugi repair kit, I think it's $20, and it comes with 2 little ceramic dishes for you to break so that you can fix them. I mean, there's even, when you look at the lore of kintsugi and all of those things, it talks about, in some cases, people were actually breaking things on purpose to send them back to Japan, to be repaired and brought back.
Oh.
And that goes far back, I think 1100s it was talking about. This is a pretty old practice. I'm very excited to do that.
I think that's cool that you haven't had a TV since 2013 stuff. That's awesome.
That is pretty cool. I know a couple people that would agree with that. I do have a TV, but the only thing we watch
Hey, hello!
is HGTV.
HGTV.
Good Bones.
Good Flipper Flop.
Flipper Flop.
Unsellable Houses.
Unsellable Houses. Lindsay and
Bargain
Leslie.
Block.
Keith and Evan.
That's literally all we watch is HGTV.
So I think that brokenness is something we need to pay attention to and we need to not be afraid of. And it fits so well within shadow work because we are not trying to slay our shadow when we work with our shadow. We are not trying to get rid of it. We are trying to bring it back into the oneness of ourselves. There will always be shadow. There will always be things that are broken in us and we will always need to work on that. But the intentionality of the shadow work comes right along with this whole thing for me of wanting to only have things that are in perfect condition. I am finding, 5 years ago, guys, this is probably small beans and we need to go and do some tarot. But five years ago, I would never have bought a used tarot. I would have seen this and I would have gone online and bought the new one. Because I don't want to buy somebody else's used stuff. And now I find myself, even with my own things, as I use them, I like them more and more the more I use them. And that is not how I grew up or how I was growing up. That's definitely different for me. So, Any questions? Anybody have anything before we get started? We are going to do the Celtic Tree
Sweet.
Oracle. I am going to switch over to our other layout here so that you guys can see the cards that we pull. And what we do now is we ask if you're in chat and you want a card or two pulled. Generally, we each pull a card, whoever's physically here. Right now, it's just Rook and I, so you'll get 2-card draw. We are going to use the Celtic Tree Oracle. It is a 25-card deck, so it's not a huge deck. But we will be pulling, like I said, 2 cards just to give you some insight. If you want a draw or a card pulled, let us know in the chat and just say, hey, I want a card. Can you pull a card? We'll add you to our list, and then we will get pulling some cards. And this is going to be from the, I'm going to use a little pine on this one, from the Celtic Oracle deck that, like I said, we just bought this week at the the antique store.
I need to call. But
Okay. So I am going to cleanse the deck just a little bit. I want these cards which have been used by others, that's a used deck. Any and all energy that is associated with them from outside of this house is going to be whisked away in the smoke. It's going to be pulled away from the smoke and used only for good things. This is going to give us, and not necessarily good things, but good messages. These messages will be helpful to all those who get messages. Any other energy that are on these cards will be carried away on this pine resin from Florida in the lot right next to us. Some local. Yes, tradition is gold, but there are quite a few silvers, and there's even a white repair that they did back in the day when gold was not available. There's a lot of really good stories around Kintsugi. So, all right, so we've got a cleansed, used deck with this wonderful pine. Oh my God, I just want to use more of this. Like, that smells so good. That smells. Oh, it's divine. All right, so we are going to wait just a minute for Rook to get back. He had to step away for work. So Stephanie's first. Willow will be second. Violet Zombie will be third. Dragon Dancer. Heather. We got Melissa. All right. Oh yeah, so I don't know, for this Kintsugi repair kit, obviously it's not traditional. We're using epoxy and actual silver flake. You put me in a forge, I would probably burn the house, the whole whatever it is down, you know? So it would be very interesting. Jeremiah, welcome in, and yes, absolutely, you can get a pull. We're just stalling for a quick minute until Rook gets back over here so we can do our pulls. These will be very quick, 2 cards.
Sorry.
I will do it from kind of a teaching perspective, from how I do tarot and oracle. This is an oracle deck, so it is a little different. Number one, with this small of a deck, I do read reversals, especially with oracle. I read reversals not as a negative thing, but as a twofold, like Christine Jetty says, draw attention to it. This is a big issue, and also that it can potentially be a barrier. So that's what we'll do from that edge. Oops, these are hard to shuffle because they're actual cards. Like, you can tell these were made in the 80s because they're hard cards.
It's cool. They're in very good condition to be so old.
Yeah, they are, and you can tell they've been used a little bit, but lightly. So we're going to switch back over. So I just wanted you guys to see me cleansing the deck. That's kind of important to me. All right. Yeah. I don't know. I would love to hear that. And Simona, I know she's not in here, but that would be awesome. If we see her in there, we need to ask her next time. I would love to hear more. I don't know enough about the whole Kintsugi process.
That is awesome.
I would love to learn more. I did find some stuff on a website that does go into some detail about it. But it just wasn't, you can't, believe everything you read on the internet, so I didn't want to act like an expert. All I do know is that in that description, even back into 1100s, they talked about using gold, silver, and something else. I don't know if it was brass. I don't think brass existed then. I can't remember. but it was something else. It was white. Well, brass isn't white, so it couldn't be that. But again, I would love, 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 love to see what that comes from. All right, so we are going to start with from the Cauldron Witch. She got first. First dibs.
Awesome.
All right. Oopsie. All right. Oh, this is interesting. And Joy, we might actually use you a little bit on this because this is definitely up your alley. So I'm going to start with Ash, number 5. So Stephanie, the first card that comes up for you is the Ash Tree. I don't know why I said it like that. The Ash Tree. So the Ash Tree is one of those trees that is very, very highly regarded in Celtic. They're calling it the tree alphabet, which I think is kind of interesting. Like, I've never heard it called the tree alphabet. But it is the key carrier card. It is the little world and the great world. So this might be something kind of like the world tree, right? Or the cosmic. Yggdrasil, I believe, was Ash tree. I'm not 100% on that. Somebody can correct me. I think that was the case. It was the tree of Odin. This is the kind of tree that he, perfect. Yeah, it's the tree that he hung from to gain his knowledge, to see it from the runes. Celtic equivalent is Gwydion, and I know, Joy, we've talked about that quite a bit. Which, by the way, not to jump in the middle of a read, but Joy, we need to have one of our Sunday services where you really talk to us in detail about Gwydion and the Mabinogi and some of those stories. I think that would be immensely wonderful. So, yeah. Okay.
Absolutely, Kelly.
Gotcha. Simona!
Hey, Simona!
So we're going to finish this a real quick tarot for Steph, and then we have a couple questions for you about Kintsugi if you could consider. So Ash is the world tree in Norse mythology. Sorry, Yggdrasil or Yggdrasil, depending on how you pronounce or say it. This is what's connecting all of the different things together is the ash tree. Yep, the other thing that I always like to look at on the ash tree is the number 5. So the number 5 symbolically or symbolologically, a number 5 is often representative of difficulties, but think of it more as complexity and something that has very, very deep meaning. So when you look at this card, you see just a tree, right? But the thing you can do with tarot or oracle, this is kind of for Violet, is you still look at the balance of this card. So we've got runes or runic symbols. This is Ogum actually on the left and right of the tree. We've got a number 5 to help us with numerology. What things have 5 sides to them? Or what does a 5-sided thing look like? Well, it's polygon. It's complex. It's got multiple sides. It's probably pretty strong. You also see a tree that has many, 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 many branches and many flowers, many leaves, I should say, not flowers. So when you think about the imagery, you may not know anything about the ash, but what you can say is that this representation of nature, a tree, has tons of branches, meaning it has lots of reach. It has tons of leaves, meaning it makes lots of oxygen, and it uses lots of carbon dioxide. So that means it is very important to life in many different ways. And so those images can kind of help you decide what you're seeing in that particular tree or image. It may resonate with some and not with others. So, Stephanie, when it comes to the ash tree, this is saying look above and below, as I think you already do very well. But the ash is reminding you to take part in all of the realms. 3 of the realms for the Celts. As above, so below for most pagans. As within, so without. Really spread out and look at the top to the bottom and all of the connections that are together for you. Because we have some really important things that are coming your way. And yes, I don't know how I missed the pentagram. The 4 points of the 5, the pentacle or the pentagram, would that be No, it's not a pentagram. There's another word for it. Whatever. The 5 points. Pentagram. Got it. Perfect. You hit all the pieces. That is a great representation of that.
All right. And I pulled 11, Gort Ivy. Let me see if it can get in focus.
Ooh.
The ivy grows, spreads, and flourishes in many conditions, cultivated land and wasteland, in light or in near darkness, in fertile soil or on rubble and stones. It will push its way through tiny cracks and crevices to reach the light, and it is strong and difficult to destroy. Since ancient times, the vine and the ivy have been regarded as enemies. If the vine, through intoxication, releases prophetic powers, the ivy, in contrast, puts you in touch with your own inner resources, giving you the ability to see through the eyes of the soul beyond the everyday world. The color associated with the Ogum ivy is gorm, sky blue. Retain a vision of the clear blue sky to which you aspire in your mind's eye. Don't be gormless. If selected, this card represents the spiral of the self and the search for self. The maze of labyrinth is also linked to the ivy, since it too symbolizes the wandering of the soul, circling inward and outward, seeking nourishment and experience from the outside and from within itself, to achieve finally its goal of enlightenment. The spirit turns inward rather as Theseus, following his thread into the labyrinth. Theseus' act may have symbolized his exploration for the secret center of his own being, which may appear monstrous, lying hidden as it is most of the time. This exploring or soul-searching, if necessary, revealing spiritual strength and depth that you may never previously have tapped or known about. Your spiraling dance through life also turns you outward, linking you with others through the group soul or collective unconscious that pervades and encompasses all life. You have a part to play to assist in the spiritual journey of others, as also they do in yours. I definitely think that's true for Stephanie, assisting in the spiritual growth of it. And a card came up for her last week about this, and I don't remember if it was the Hierophant, but it was something I think it was the Hierophant, and it's just showing everything you're doing to help others learn and to grow is appreciated by the universe, and please keep doing that. Now, my question for you, because you're more on runes, do you know what rune that is?
I don't know the Ogum. I know the witch's rune. So,
Not the Ogum. See, there's a rune. Can you all see it on each side?
it's a symbol. I don't know if it's an actual rune or not. I'd have to look that up. Yeah. I'm not familiar with that specifically. I will say, yeah, Stephanie, so kind of what I get out of the ivy, and this again is kind of just from how I would perceive it, is thinking of ivy as a fast-growing, fast-moving, never stops, continues, will continue moving throughout, and not only does it do that, but it can completely cover something, so much so that you can't see what was behind it before. So that can either be a positive transformation or a complete binding and setback. But when you couple that with the ash tree, that to me is giving me kind of what you're saying. This is forging ahead. This is persevering despite something, it feels right, but somebody or something is trying to tell you not to do it. You should. This is a forward motion card for me. When you put them together, that's how I would kind of see it.
And to me, mine is saying, kind of like nurses, for some reason at times in our world, people are critical of new folks or people that don't have the knowledge that others do, that you might have, that might not have. And it's telling me that the guidance that you have provided to others is appreciated from the universe, and to please keep doing that. Keep teaching, keep supporting. And I've experienced that from her just in the past 3 weeks or so with Santa Muerte.
Yeah. I don't want to cut off too quick, but I also know that Simona had hopped on at request.
Hey, Simona.
So sorry for delaying. I wanted to finish the read first.
Yeah.
So Simona, we were talking about, and I brought the topic up of brokenness and repair of people and things, and that led me to something I've always wanted to do with it, which is kintsugi. Now, obviously, I'm not doing traditional kintsugi. I don't have that capability. Which is, the Japanese repair and restoration method. I'm using basically an epoxy with silver flakes in it because silver is the color I prefer. But I'm interested, and Steph had mentioned that you have somebody in your family of Japanese descent, and was curious if that you or they had anything shareable or anything that would help us learn a little bit more about it traditionally, what it looked like, and things like that. So that's where that came from. I am always up for learning more on that. That is so much fun. These are weird to shuffle.
Yeah, they're different cards. While she's answering, we can go. Who are we?
Next is Willow.
Oh,
yeah, so
Willow, sweet Willow.
we'll get through this one too, and go from there. So yes, Enjoy. You're right. We have to think about the tree is and its properties, but I'm guessing that the majority of people are not going to know what those are. So our alternate is to kind of commune with the card and the descriptor of what you see and where you might have seen that particular tree in real life and what it looks like.
Maisha.
Maisha, you most definitely certainly are.
Maisha, like a girl that I never had, but I want to get to know you better. Isn't that cool?
You make me scared.
Hey, you gotta have a little fun and love.
You'll be, all right. So, first card that I have for Willow, Blackthorn. Ooh, girl.
Girl.
We got Blackthorn. This Blackthorn also has no number, which is interesting. Strafe. There are also, okay, so what we're seeing on the sides of the cards, I did not know this because I'm reading, I just happened to flop the book in the very back of it. This is the Celtic tree alphabet. And so what you're seeing on the left and right center of the card is how it would be depicted in that alphabet. So these are the 5 groups of letters comprising the Ogam, or Beth Louis Nguyen alphabet, together with their condensed meanings as interpreted by Colin Murray, who is the creator of this deck, along with Liz Murray. So that's where that's coming from, and obviously it has the tones. Joy is a big thing on the tones. I love that. I think that's important to note too. So the one we have here is Strafe Blackthorn, which is an S sound. If you wanted to know what it is in the Ogam, how it would sound in the alphabet. So Strafe is Blackthorn, S, and that's the symbol that you'll see on the sides when Rook shows it to you. And this is so a little bit different in the description here, or in the visual of the card. You see a very full tree. And what's important to identify, like we said, if you don't know what that particular one is, you can of course look it up. I said Blackthorn, right?
Blackthorn Strafe.
Yeah, I can't find anything in this book.
I looked on here and found the black. That's how.
I just want to see what that Ogam.
Oh, it's over here.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
There it is. And I don't know the Blackthorn, so this is the card that represents the strong action of fate outside influences of your life, that which has yet to be obeyed. So you may feel like you don't have any choice in what's happening, however unpleasant, but you need to let those events do what they need to do. So there may be an unexpected change that has recently happened or will happen, but it's glass half full, glass half empty. Depends on how your perception of it is. So this is part of your spiritual journey that we're talking about. As you go on your spiritual journey, there is a disrupted period, so that might be the period you're in now, trying to figure out where to go, where to start, and how to get moving. If you persist with a negative viewpoint on that, it will get worse. If you choose to work through a more positive viewpoint, it will get better. So ultimately, you accept what is happening, but know that you have the ability to work with the energies and try to get to that next level. So yeah, that's one of the things that I think is going to be very interesting. I actually have a blackthorn wand that is very, very powerful, and I do not actually use it unless something is extremely stuck, or I really am in a rut and cannot move out of it. Then I will utilize that versus my traditional willow wand that I use.
Willow. Ah, cool.
Oh, I didn't even know that. So.
All right, dear sweet paranormal witch, the card I pulled for you.
Real quick, I'm sorry, but guys, everybody in the chat, please pay attention to what Joy says. I don't want to just keep rereading it, but she's giving us lots of little bits and pieces and information about these cards as they go. So, I don't want to call her the expert without her permission to call her so, but I would certainly call her the expert on some of these things. So please, take a peek of those. Whatever's on the image. We had Nguyen. Yeah, it was Nguyen Ivy on the last one, but we were already on, unfortunately, Strafe Blackthorn, and now Rook has pulled something else. It looks like corn.
It looks like corn, but Willow, I have pulled Own and Furzy for you.
Furzy.
All right, and on the it looks kind of like a thorny bush with a few flowers. So, and it looks like a
beehive
on the bottom of it. So, On. The Furzy is a yellow flowering shrub growing profusely on moorland and common land. It chooses for itself a position far away from other trees where it can bask in the sun. However, although the Furzy bears its densest golden covering in spring and early summer, there is, in fact, no month throughout the year when it is totally devoid of blooms, a touch of color always appearing somewhere along the dark green spines. The flowers are rich and plentiful in pollen and nectar, giving off a strong, sweet scent of honey in the warmth of the sun, providing rich rewards for the gathering bees which stock and replenish their combs and hives. The fire festival the Furzy is particularly associated with is Lughnasadh, coming up.
There you go.
At which time it possesses a strong value, linking the inner and outer worlds with richness and fulfillment. Choosing the Furzy card indicates a gathering together of sweetness and value, or a skill at collecting. It means either that circumstances around you on your path through life are gathering together toward a goal or destination you require, or that you will be enabled to collect together for yourself the elements you seek in order to attain such an end. Like a magpie seeking here and there for the golden treasure it wants to add to its valuable store. Although just apparently a common lowly bush, the Furzy in the Ogham alphabet is, according to Brahman law tree order, a chieftain. It therefore ranks among the highest echelon, along with alder, ash, oak, hazel, vine, ivy, blackthorn, yew, mistletoe, and beech, and it is therefore a precious guide to your spiritual journey. So, that's what the background and information is, but for me, this means you've been pricked a couple times with something, but you got to keep going because you still have your flowers, and you're going to come out successful. And
even with the thorns, continue collecting.
Continue collecting.
Because it's
continue
worth it.
Collecting your knowledge. I know you're almost done with some pursuits. Even though it's been a bumpy, thorny road, you're about to emerge from it and be successful. That's a good sign for me.
Yep.
Thorns are always positive to me, especially like this one. It has flowers, and it always has flowers.
And thorns are very protective.
Yeah.
You know, thorns are designed to be protective, obviously, right? Because it's protecting the tree from being eaten or from being picked. But remember, also when doing tarot or oracle, just a little tidbit. Each card that you pull and each symbol that you pull and each thing that you do is going to alter the meaning of those other ones around it. So in this case, I think the blackthorn may be altering furze, plant or flower, whatever it is, to be on a spiritual meaning versus and a path meaning versus just a light whataboutism or what not whataboutism. We were talking about that last night. A light thing, something a little bit more heavy. We have Violet next. Oh,
Sweet Violet.
violets. Are the violets violet? Are they?
Ah,
We have
Yeah.
African violets up front. They're
we
violet.
do. No, I'm laughing because I was gonna tell Willow, "Are you thorny, baby?" And I'm delayed from mimosas.
You're inappropriate.
Are you thorny,
Okay,
baby?
so I just shuffled, and Violet, your card is furs.
Cool.
Um,
I'm sorry, I did not mean to blow that on you.
so, I mean, there's no need to reread the entire thing,
Right.
but we're going to kind of have a different meaning because, when you pull, you kind of get what's coming in. So this coming in as a first card.
Oh, she said, "What's your question?"
So hold on a second. So Simono, I apologize. I did ask it earlier, so I didn't know you hadn't heard it yet. So we something I've always wanted to do is obviously not traditional because I can't is kintsugi, which is the Japanese repair of broken things, right? Or broken ceramics mostly, but of broken items. And we're talking a lot today about brokenness of people and healing, and then repairing things and allowing them to be used versus throwing them away. Stephanie had mentioned that you may have somebody of Japanese descent in your family, and we were a little curious. Are there any really good resources or information or things that we could find on that kintsugi practice? Like traditionally, how did it work? What did they do? Who did it? Is it something that is still done?
Or do y'all have y'all done it?
Have you done it? Yeah, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what it was. Went from the Cauldron Witch had mentioned that, and we wanted to kind of see, like, how is that something you guys do? Is it something that is still done? And just kind of get some resources. What I learned, the resources that I found were pretty, what do you say when it's on the surface? I cannot find my words today.
Superficial?
Superficial, thank you. So that's the question. We're going to continue after that with Violet's reading because we pulled the same card, but the difference is this card comes first. So now we're talking about the furs. I don't know how to say it properly.
I said furzy, but that may be not right.
The own or furzy. That is kind of funny. So this is a shrub. It's basically gathering of sweetness. Despite the thorns which may hurt, you should continue on what you're doing because the result is going to be positive, good, and sweet. So a little bit different because we're not talking about necessarily spiritual for you, Violet. What we're talking about for you is stopping and expressing the mundane and the things that are basic in life so that you can then reach spiritual through that. So we start with that gathering of information, that gathering of things of nature and pulling them in and together for you. So I think a good message out of this card would be to start making sure that you are collecting things that are meaningful and positive for you, and they will help work you really through into your stuff. And I am not sure what vague means.
No, she's talking about the word, like superficial, vague.
Vague,
Yeah.
perfect. Very vague. Like I couldn't find anything really
Yeah.
good on it. It was very annoying. I thought I would be able to find a lot more.
Oh, where's
It was
my...
very commercial.
I got Dwar Oak.
Oak.
Solid protection, doorway to the mystery, strength, 7th month, and May. So,
The oak tree is a huge,
very big.
and very important tree. If not the most important, if you could say that. I know Joy will have something to say about the oak.
So, Miss Violet, every house has a front door. If you wish to enter, the door must be approached and your presence made known. The door may then be opened. The very word door comes from the Gaelic and Sanskrit dwir, a word for solidity, protection, and the oak tree. In the essential forest, the oak is king. He stands mightily solid with great branches matched only by still greater roots. He is often struck by lightning. The force of the strike and the heat bursts the sap and stem apart, leaving the trunk gnarled and withered. Yet he still manages to survive over the years, decades, and centuries. His growth is slow but sure. His children grow into magnificent replicas of himself, and he is a marker point, a cornerstone, and a refuge into the forest. The oak's place in the Celtic lunar calendar is 7th among the 13 months. He is central and stands between, these are words I cannot say, Huathi, hawthorn on his left, and Tinny, holly on his right. His month is the one of the fertile dance of spring, when all becomes fecundated for the coming summer months. The oak has always protected England through the use of his timbers for the building of ships, those that, for example, defeated the Armada. Oaks have also been used to mark the boundaries between one area and the next. Ancient ovates, bards, and druids preached under its mighty form, gaining strength from its strength. Edward the Confessor preached under the gospel oak at Parliament Hill, Hampstead, thereby gaining power for his kingdom and tradition from the many years of strength that lay way back in the past. I don't know if they could even see that. So I take this as a good path, a good symbol on the path you're on. Stay strong.
So what I was going to say, from a reading perspective, if you don't know what an oak actually is, what you can see in the picture is a very thick, large wood trunk, which means stability.
Yep.
Very, very, very difficult to obliterate. Grounded. So I would think if I didn't know anything about oak,
Connected.
it would be protection, stability, and comfort, and things that make home home. So I would really look at it from that perspective, and think that the whole process really talks about that hominess and that strength that is needed to go to the next level. So yeah, that's the Celtic message for that. For Violet. Next is Heather. And I'm not sure, guys, how long our delay is right now. I think it might be a little bit longer.
It seems like it.
Hold on, you might hear some background noise or some repeat, but I'm going to try to see where we are. Next is Heather. This is not too far off. We're about 30 seconds delay, it looks like, sounds like. Sorry, I just wanted to check because some of the messages aren't lining up with what we're talking about, so I want to make sure. Well,
yeah.
I love that, and so it kind of reminds me of smudging, right?
Right.
So smudging is a very specific ritual practice. I don't do smudging. I can't do smudging. It's not something I feel I'm capable of doing because I don't know the ritual practice. But I do know how to cleanse with smoke. So maybe it's kind of the same thing, Simona. Like, we call it kintsugi because we don't have anything else to call it. But really what we're doing is we're just repairing and kind of perpetuating the idea. But the actual craft of kintsugi would probably be done by very specific people in that culture. So that kind of makes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. That's very good to know.
I would love to know, like, the real, what was it like then? And so they still do it now by professionals. That's awesome. And then, like you said, if we still do it in U.S., you can do it yourself. I mean, obviously, we're not doing traditional, and it kind of feels weird to call it that if that's not the true thing we're doing. The idea is still the same, though. We're still repairing stuff. We're still bringing attention to what was broken and what now is repaired. So I think that feels really nice. But yeah, that's actually really good. I appreciate that. That's very helpful to me, knowing just a little bit more about it.
So we've got a couple more, and then we'll open the circle, and then
Yep.
or
Heather.
one more, yeah. Heather.
Oh, that's a good
Who's
card
this
for
for?
Heather. Heather.
Ah.
Dragon Dancer. I hope Dragon Dancer's still in the chat. I'm pretty sure she is. Because this is for some reason all the cards you pull for Dragon Dancer are like exactly what they are supposed to. Like they fit for some reason, and it's weird, and I like it. All right, so this is the ch or the ch sound in the Celtic tree alphabet, the Ogam, and it is code. And the representation here is grove. Imagine that. This is the sacred place, all knowledge available past, present, and future. So, girl, whatever you... Oh, and then I opened a book to the page on Heather.
That's cool.
All right. We get him. We hear you. I get it. I know. I get what you're saying. Whew, that was a rush. I don't know what's going on with my head there. But anyway, so yeah, your message in the Ogam is code, and your depiction is the grove. We all know what the grove is, right? The grove is that sacred space. Now, in Druid life, the grove is specifically two things, I think, and this is just how I am experiencing it at my current level. It is the sacred space in your head that you go to be safe and protected, and it's where you meet your astral. It's where you meet your spirit. In some ways, in Druidry, or let's just say in the practice of the grove. So, and it speaks to being in that grove, but it also is a physical place where people meet and come together. Obviously, we have a grove at the church, and it can be many other things, when it comes to grove. But to me, in a read as a first card on a quickness like this, the grove is literally just like, you have the connection to all three parts. So you are absolutely on the path. I don't know where my English has gone. You are absolutely on the path that you are supposed to be on, doing the things that you are being called to do. You are representing the grove. You are the grove, 1,000%. That is exactly what I get from that card. So that's on point to me, especially with some of the workings we've recently done. I absolutely can see that and feel that.
And I drew for you number 10, Muin or Vine, which we have before, and it just solidifies that what you're working on will bear fruit. It will be fruitful. They're the right things. It's a good sign.
Mm-hmm. I love...
Keep on working, girl.
Yeah, and I love all the vine representations, because the things that vines can do is they can smother, but most of the time they don't. Most of the time they represent, they cover, they do bear, and they become this magical covering of things that just... It's what makes natural things natural. Like, I would love my house to be covered in vines, because then it makes my house feel natural, like it's part of the earth and the rest of things. Even though it is, it's just manufactured. So I think that is a really good read, and it just makes sense to me. That one of all has made the most sense. Melissa Morales, are you still in the chat? You are up next.
Lord of the Wood.
Lord of the Wood. I often talk about not reading the books, but this is a book I'm going to have to read for sure because of the alphabet itself. Might need to do some meditations on those too soon. But Melissa, are you in the chat? After Melissa will be Jeremiah. And then we have Kelly and then Maisha. So we'll go to Melissa. All right. First card.
You're playing
For
for
Maisha.
Melissa.
Or
Melissa.
I'm sorry, I said Maisha.
Don't trip me up pulling my card.
Maisha's the last on the list. You're the one singing it. That's why I got confused.
Maisha.
And I sing Melissa.
Melissa.
There
Doesn't
we
go
go.
the same as the original tune.
Well, then don't sing it because we're not there yet.
I know.
Mother heifer. And Joy, stop judging us on our pronunciations. I can't even
She's
speak English right
correcting
now.
you.
Like, I don't even have English at the moment. I don't even,
love it.
let alone
I love it.
anything else right now.
You
All right.
have to learn the right way.
So this is,
Ooh,
according
this
to
is
the book,
cool.
this is the TH symbol, or the OIR, O-I-R, spindle.
Yes,
So-
I do, Maisha.
This is weird because I'm getting something, and I'm not trying to be rude for Melissa, but this is saying sweetness and delight and sudden intelligence. I'm getting a little bit more fire out of Melissa than what that card would suggest, just from a general connection. I don't know if that's true or not. But we're still going to talk about this as the tree, the spindle, which is something I am going to have to look in the book for because I do not know about spindle, and I want to make sure I give you some information. They're very different. These are neat. So basically, this Ogum card has double nature, not just conveyed by the spindle tree, but the element of thunder, Theron, which is an alternative name for the letter. Okay, so that kind of actually fits. You know, when I pulled the tree itself, I felt like, you know, the sweetness and indulgence of the spindle tree, but we're also talking about the thunder. So that might be where I'm getting that a bit of fire from Melissa. So together, you have thunder, you have sweetness, delight, and sudden intelligence. The spindle is an extremely hard-wooden tree. They made pegs, bobbins, and spindles, hence its common name.
Cool.
Yeah.
Spindle tree.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
It does make sense. So you got this is another one of those hardwoods. So it has bright crimson, deeply lobed fruits. Never even heard of a spindle tree. That's kind of cool. But anyway, so the meaning really is actually part of a legend concerning Lu, which again, we're pulling cards going into Luna Sa. Why does that keep happening? But it makes sense.
That's really cool.
So Lu, whose father was Cian, was killed by 3 sons of Turin. Brian. Okay, that's weird. That's my name. Iukar and Yukarba. I'm not going to say this properly. Don't judge me. So I guess that has to be it. I'm just telling you. Yeah. As a punishment, they were set 8 tasks by Lu, and the final one being to make 3 shouts on a hill. Knok Mudane. All right, Joy. I'll see your correction on that one at some point. I appreciate it. I'm being cheeky. Having completed the first 7, acquiring various magical animals and objects Lu desired, they turned to their final task. But the hill was owned and guarded by an enemy, and so they fell, mortally wounded, after reaching the summit and uttering those 3 shouts. Thus, the sons of Tiernan completed the hardest and final task that brought completion and repayment. So in your spiritual journey, true delight comes by completing the tasks you are presented with to the utmost of your abilities. Don't evade them. Aid by the illumination of whatever reveals your best. Don't act on obligation or coercion with the expectation of reward, but purely because you know you must. Your greatest happiness will come in from all the work that you are doing, not others. I like that. This is almost like a card that's basically saying the sweetness and intelligence and all the things are yours, but don't let others direct it for you. You direct it. You control that process. I think that's pretty.
Didn't you say you got the impression of sweetness?
Initially, the first thing I got was sweetness and fire.
Yeah.
But I think the fire is her, not hard.
Yeah. Okay, and I do apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but I have pulled Ngetal, 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 and Reed. I'll see if I can get this to focus. It's some plants growing around some wavy water, and one plant growing right straight through the center of the water. So, immediately, you're standing still amongst rough water situations, chaos, emotional. Let's just see what the meaning says for the history. Thin and slender is the reed. He stands in clumps at the edge of the river, and between his feet hides the swift pike, awaiting an unsuspecting minnow to come his way. In his thinness, the reed resembles arrows that fly, silver-tipped, up into the unknown air, to land at the very source that one had searched for all these years. Firing arrows off into the unknown is an expression of the desire to search out basic truths. If you loose off without direction, the place of landing, if you loose off without direction, the place of landing will be random. If the firing off is carried out with the correct conviction, determination, and sense of purpose, then the act becomes secondary to the event that comes both before and after the moment. Choosing this card indicates that you are aware of the great outside that surrounds us all. You are capable of finding order where others find only chaos. Kind of similar to what I said. Your results are as pure as the intentions with which you started. You progress by continually keeping your aim in sight. Choosing the reed gives you the capacity to make spiritual weapons, just as the bowman has first to make and find his bow. Then he has to make the arrows and tip them with a point. The flights or feathers at the base of the arrow give direction and prevent the arrow twisting and changing direction in flight. In the same way, with the reed, you are able to find direction and to give meaning and purpose to your journey that started at the beginning of the year in November, according to the old calendar. Once the journey has been entered upon, then surprise encounters and upsets are only to be expected. The skills to overcome these short-lived troubles are as important and essential as making the journey in the first place. So as I said in the beginning, I stick by my initial impression. You're standing tall and steady in the center of any kind of chaos, trouble, whether it be emotional or physical, that comes your way.
I like it.
Boom.
Couple the reed with the spindle, and you've got some really solid strength there and positive motion. I think this is not the most positive. I wouldn't say it's positive because I don't really like using positive negative, but that seems like to me the most active reading that we've done. The very message of keep doing the shit.
Keep standing tall.
Yes. All right, we have a Jeremiah. Is there a wild Jeremiah still in the chat?
Jeremiah
was a bullfrog. Isn't that what it is?
Dun, dun, dun. Yes, that is correct. Excuse me.
When I asked during the last check, I did not see Jeremiah respond, so I don't want to skip. But I also don't want to delay either. There he is.
Okay, Joy, give love to the baby.
Give love. Hi, Munchkin. Bye, Munchkin.
Thank you for stopping in, Joy.
All right. Jeremiah McFeeders. Sounds like a name that you would have for something. Let's see what we get first. Card is...
Oh, wow. That is cool. And you did shuffle very well.
Is the Reed, which is the card we just ended on.
It was very good. That's a good card.
Yeah. So, just in the interest of like the teaching part, I want to mention the number 12. There's your jumper. We had a jumper for once. That's been
okay. Let me see.
So Jeremiah, the first card for you is Reed again. So that does pull out. You know, the number 12. We'll start there. We're going to think of what does 12 represent. There are 12 months in the year. So calendar time. So this is something that can be used for working with tarot as in a time frame. So this is something that's going to be over the next 12 months or within the next 12 months. Generally speaking, it could be shorter or longer. Or you can also do numerology of doing 12, which is 1 and 2, which 1 plus 2, any number that's 10 or more, you add them together. So 1 plus 2 is 3. So this would be the numerology of 3. What are 3 things? Triangles, pyramids, triads. So these are all things that have high structural crystal integrity. So that's just a couple of things to add for those of you that are trying to learn tarot or reading oracle from an intuitive space. Start with those things so we can use the numerology, the symbolism. Now, I think reed is really, I don't want to say a plant or an item, but this is something that I think everybody pretty much does understand or knows as far as what it is. And I don't even know if the number, like the numbers have anything specific to the whole process. You know what I mean? To where they fit on the thing. I'm guessing the 12 months, but I'm not a big knower of the tree alphabet, so that's a little different for me. Rook just did read this one on the previous reading where we talked about this is being aware of all the things that are outside and around and finding order when others are finding chaos. So when that maybe that's not always true for you, Jeremiah, but in this case, in this read, you are going to find the method of the madness. You are going to find order and chaos of things that you're currently working on or working through. It may feel chaotic now, but you will get to where you're going and to the place that you're trying to get to. The read really gives you capacity. Like this is, you're making of spiritual weapons. Like Rook talked about with the bow and the tipping of the arrows with the point, and making things that are actually in a way that are put together that have an end. The reed, the feather, the arrow tip, the bow, the string, none of those things matter when they're all separately created, right? They have to be put together, and then they're put together in chaos, or they're chaos by themselves. You use your knowledge and abilities to put them together to make a bow and arrow that affects change, that affects how you eat or how you move. So that's where the read really comes into, and for me, in this read, is really about that process. It's putting those things in order and finding that order when everything around is kind of falling apart. You find that relatively easy to do, and the read is saying you're on that directive path still. You are still in a place where you can go and create that order out of chaos. My guess is at this point, things are pretty stable, and the things that cause you anxiety are relatively balanced at the moment. But we will see what the next card should say.
All right, and I have pulled Ilum, Silver Fir. Ilum. And as I look at it, I immediately get that this is a tree in solidarity, standing tall and strong. And to go along with yours, to make sense of the chaos and to put order in, you might have to retreat, and it's something you may have to do on your own. Let's see what the book has to say about the actual tree, the silver fir. We're going to...
From a reading standpoint, the first thing that I would notice is that it's an evergreen tree. And evergreen trees are always, not always, I shouldn't say that are often, our evergreen bush is often about longevity and steadfastness. They stay together no matter what.
All right. Alum. The family name of the silver fir is Abes. Abes comes from the verb abir, meaning to go away, referring to the great height or distance from the ground that these tall, slender trees can achieve. The Adam and Eve trees, a pair of silver firs planted by the Duke of Argyll in the early 17th century and standing until recent times, reached heights of 130 and 124 feet, respectively. Silver firs grow in mountainous regions on the upper slopes overlooking the surrounding forest and reaching into the clear air towards the distant blue sky. So here's a tree that can see over a great distance to the far horizon and on the greater realms beyond, both through its own height and its elevated position on the mountainside. Choosing this card indicates long sight with a clear vision of what is beyond and yet to come. Coupled with this is the perception to see and understand from the point at which you are standing or rooted, taking a long viewpoint and foreseeing the future. Still go with, that's good to know. I still go with my initial impression that it is you and alone that's making sense of things. And if there's any input or distraction, you can hear it, but you alone in solidarity will make sense of everything that's going on.
Others are not going to keep it together
Others
for you.
will not keep it together for you, sir. Boom. All right.
Kelly is up next.
Kelly!
So I hope that had some meaning for you, some thought for you, Jeremiah. Let us know what you think. Violet, that I think is both. Like sometimes I hear, sometimes I see, sometimes I just feel something. Sometimes it's like a Van Gogh painting moving in my head. It's just always different. Depends on how I'm connected and what I'm connected to. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for your service, Jeremiah.
Yes.
I was in the Navy.
I was in
school, brother.
We talked about it the other day. I was actually in the Army as well, but I didn't really make it any further than the very beginning, as I was put out for my lifestyle choices in an uncharacterized manner. But I was for Norfolk Naval Station in the Army as an MP. That's what I was supposed to be anyway. And then after I left that, I went back to work on a bank that was always on base. So
Kelly!
oh, Norfolk. Welcome back. I love her name, Simona. I love your name.
Too.
Did Kelly say hi? I didn't see it yet. I hate the delay. It kills me.
There she is.
There she is.
Yeah, Kelly.
All right. So once Kelly is there, we'll do. Let me write you in so I don't forget, because God knows I'll forget. All right. This is actually one of my favorite trees.
Cool.
Now, I will say my favorite tree, which you should always have. I have a bunch. The willow birch. I had a willow birch that was planted 3 feet tall outside of my window when I was a kid, and when I moved out, or was kicked out, actually, it was taller than our house, which is a 2-story house in Hickory. But it is the most beautiful texture on their leaves. They've got this, like, it's almost rubbery but soft, velvety textured leaf. They grow in really wet areas. In Virginia is where I'm from. And they have this beautiful silvery brown bark that flakes off in these big rolls. So pretty. So river birch is my favorite tree if anybody ever wants to know. Second favorite is magnolia because I love how glossy the leaves are, how thick the wood is, and I love the smell of magnolia blossoms. It's the most beautiful smell in those flowers. Oh, I love magnolia. This is my third, and it's the apple tree. And the reason I love apple trees is because the flowers are so pretty, and then the apples are so pretty, and you can eat them. So the apple tree is the first card that I pulled for you, Kelly. The Ogham alphabet, which I will not be saying properly, is Quirt, right? So Quirt. Oh, yeah?
Awesome!
I'm from Norfolk, actually. Been all over. I was spent a lot of time on Fort Eustis, Fort Story, Naval Station Norfolk, Amphibious Naval Base. We actually lived right outside the Amphibious Naval Base on
Little Creek
Road. That was where our house was. But anyway, Kelly. So apple tree, right? The one thing, without looking in the book or the one thing that I know about apple trees is they have a smaller trunk. They are a hardwood, so it's still really tough. And they branch out really, really widely, which gives me the idea of apple trees. They are, number one, they're very beautiful and they smell good. They have a femininity to them because, as we know, the apple is really the seed pod, right? Which is the ovary of the where the flower and everything gets pollinated, and then the apple grows as the flesh, so that the flesh will be eaten, so that the seed can be sown. So that's really, really part of that process and that whole thing. And so apple trees are amazing feminine energy to me, and I think that those are always really important to kind of understand. The look of the apple tree, if the apple falls, the apple will then rot, and it can rot in water because they're usually they like water, they like wet areas.
They're very sacred.
They're very sacred, but then when they become what? They become like cider. They become something else that's available. The word that's associated with it in the alphabet is Q or quirt. And so we're going to give a few pieces. I'm getting tired, y'all.
I know.
I might have to call out of this 3 o'clock interview.
Okay.
Oh. So it represents, we know this too. The apple represents youthfulness, not usefulness.
Thanks for stopping in, Jeremiah. Have a great day.
Have a good one, man.
Thanks for stopping in.
Another thing, this is linked to Avalon. It's important to know that apple trees are not indigenous to the United States. So for me, being in the United States, apple trees were brought over from Britain. They did not belong here originally, and then they grew here after they brought them. So every apple tree came from outside. The only apple here was crab apples. Apples come from the place to place and journeys. Because the Pythagorean pentagram is inside the apple, which we've seen when you do a crosscut. Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Only people who have joy or some sort of desire to do and be something have access to the apple tree. So Kelly, if the apple tree is coming up in your read, it's saying you have the access that you need. You have a way about finding and figuring things out and working through to the truth of matters, even though you don't feel like it sometimes, because sometimes it feels like your fruit is all over the tree instead of in one place. But know that you still have access to it, and you have to work probably a little bit to get that access at times. But it's there. It's beautiful. It's supportive. It will always be there. It will continue to be there. And it is very much a connectedness to youthfulness in mind and spirit, and youthfulness of journeying.
Cool. Okay, and what I pulled is number 4, and it is, I'm probably saying this wrong, sail and willow. So number 4 makes me think of a foundation. This is a barren tree, and you can't see because they're so tiny, but on each side of the tree are 2 seeds representing the foundation. And what I'm going to go with intuitively is that this tree is barren. The foundation is forming. It's not there yet, but it's getting into place. Let's learn about the sail tree. I'll put this down here. We're going to right here. The willow in the tree alphabet stands for the female and lunar rhythms of life. She is water-seeking, thriving from preference on the damp margins of lakes and streams or across low-lying water meadows. Water and the tidal movements of the sea are governed by the pull of the moon. That's also what you may not be able to see. There's 2 half moons above each side of the tree. The moon in its monthly rhythms is female, contrasting with the male sun's daily and yearly turnings. In several ways, the Celts held women in higher regard than we do today. On the material level, women were property owners, and whoever controlled the property controlled the marriage. Women of all types and ages appeared in the Celtic pantheon, and spiritual strength and life-giving qualities given by both female and male recognized equally. There were many colleagues of druidesses, learned women and teachers, respected especially for their gifts or seership, often expressed through dreams or night visions. The goddess Breed, one of whose attributes is as a seer, has her fire festival during the Willow month. Again, we're coming up on Lughnasadh and fire. This festival, Imbolc or Brigatania, is one of the 2 female fire festivals along the yearly cycle of 4. The willow is additionally sacred to the moon goddess who rules this month. The willow also offers protection against damp diseases, and there are many references in folklore to the efficacy of this tree against such complaints. Modern chemists extract salicin from her bark to be used in the treatment of rheumatic fever, so proving that there is truth hidden in many a folk remedy.
I love willow trees too.
That's
They're
beautiful.
pretty.
So again, say with the moon, the tree, the 4, The foundation that needs to be built upon is one of female energy.
Yep. And all the accesses are already there. That's the one thing about the apple tree that I really like about it is it's so strong. It can live for so long. It can stay together for so long. And then the willows, both normal willow trees and weeping willow trees, among what?
Nothing. I'm sorry. I don't know. I got tickled.
All right, Maisha
Maisha.
in the house. We are way over. We may have to start limiting.
Or starting earlier. Yeah. We have to maybe start the tarot part earlier.
No, because this isn't a tarot stream. This is we're just supposed to
Yeah.
kind of end on tarot and just have a little bit of fun with it. We might have to get on to one card. Not this time.
Not this time. No.
Because I mean it's almost 1:30. I'm tired. Probably wouldn't be so bad if I didn't have that other one coming up afterwards.
That's funny, paranormal.
She probably would if she knows
She probably
you better.
would
Yeah.
love you.
Everybody should.
Everybody should
love Willow. Maisha. I'm not singing it. That is too funny. Let's see. Simona, are you still in the chat? And thank you for that information too, by the way, again. That is hilarious. I love it. That is hilarious. That's how it's supposed to be, though. You know, we have fun. This was a good conversation today too. I really enjoyed the Probably want to spend more time on brokenness. That might come up again next week, because I think those are really important pieces of what we do. We try to move too fast to discard the things that we don't like, instead of actually trying to repair things and fix them and move through them, just like with shadow work. All right, so Simona, we're going to go ahead and pull a couple cards for you. Maisha, we will check back at the end before we go offline to see if you have returned. So Simona, that's interesting.
Maisha said she was still here.
Oh, did I miss it?
Yeah.
That was before we finished that last read.
Okay.
But we're still on there. We're not gonna leave. We're just gonna go around to who's present at the time already. So just want to make sure, because we were still in read there. There she is. Okay. So we got both. So Maisha, whether I believe it could have been my miss, we are going to do Simona real quick since I've already pulled a card. We have some sort of a delay here for sure. I don't know what it is. I'm not used to it being as long as it is.
Yeah.
So, but we've already pulled. I've already pulled my first card for Simona, so I'm going to go with that, and then we'll come right back to you. So I apologize, but we will just adjust and move and do what we do, right? So the card I've got first for Simona is the sea. Mur, the sea. So this is a maternal link card. Basically, and obviously we do think a lot about the sea. It's a water, it's cups, it's very feminine in its energy that we generally associate it with it. And a lot of what's in this imagery in this card is birds, it is the water, it is all kinds of things that go across it. This basically speaks to some hidden depths and resources that you have. There are some that you were born with, some that you inherited, and then the sea is representing the lunar and female link of you to those lands and to those things. It's a maternal link. and it was something that is going to bring up for you or bring in through the hidden depths that you can pull from in order to move forward. These resources will come to you if you use them, and as you go through and you travel and you're doing different things, your direction right now is in the right direction. So your ship's sailing the right way, you're using the right processes, you're going in the right direction. But the Celtic Ogum Simona is basically saying you have more things to pull from on your voyage than you are currently aware of and or using. Maybe this speaks to some historical or family lineage of witchcraft or spirituality, if not witchcraft, because it may not be your thing. I don't know. But regardless, there's something in here about linkage to your mom, your mother maternal side. So maybe not even just mom, but grandparents, great-grandparents, who knows how far back. But that might be something that you still have linkage to, that is in, maybe you don't even know about it, but it's there. So this is speaking to you having more things to pull from than you think, and you will be utilizing them soon.
All right, and I pulled, and Joy's not here to correct me, Ioho and you, and it's a very thick trunked, this card reminds me of the Empress, if I had to relate it to another card. The branches and the leaves are very full. I hope you can see it here. Abundance.
Abundante.
Rebirth and everlasting.
A rebirth.
I think
definitely a feminine energy.
Yes, abundance, abundance, abundance. The easiest place to find the yew tree is within the ancient cemeteries. In all truth, any particular yew may well be far older than the cemetery that surrounds it. The Crowhurst yew in Surrey is reputed to be at least 1,600 years old. This capacity for age has given the yew its peculiar form of growth. Its branches grow down into the ground to form new stems, which grow to become trunks of separate but linked growth. In time, the central trunk becomes old and the insides decay, but a new tree grows within the spongy mass of the old and eventually cannot be distinguished from the original. So the yew represents great age, rebirth, and reincarnation. The yew is the fountainhead of youth and age, and of age and youth. The new year that is born from the old, the new soul sprung from ancient roots in a seemingly fresh new body. In Breton legend, the tree is said to grow a root into the open mouth of each corpse buried in the graveyard. This root is a symbol of rebirth, with the spirit reborn in much the same way as the tree itself is reborn. That's some nice history. I still go with abundance. Abundance is with you and will continue.
Yeah, and rebirth. And it kind of works with the other card, too, when you're talking about the sea. The sea is, again, about voyages, right? That's generally what we think about you. Whenever I think of the sea, it's relaxing. It's so large that we know there's another side to it, but we don't have to see it. Don't have to think about it. And going through that maternal lineage of things that are resources to pull from throughout, those things are really cool together for me. So I love that. Our last but never least now is going to be Maisha. So we know you're here, so we will get started. But before I do want to make a comment on the whole, does witchcraft choose you? And the response from a couple people has been both and let it flow. And yes, yeah, absolutely, 1,000% agree. But I like to say that witchcraft doesn't choose or not choose you. Witchcraft is something you choose to do. You can choose not to practice witchcraft, or you can choose to practice it. How do I want to say this? Like, you can be full spiritual engagement and embodiment without being utilizing witchcraft or being a witch. And so that's an important distinction, because once you start learning about witchcraft, or there's an impetus or an energy that wants you to, it can bring it to you and start making you kind of see it, and it becomes more apparent. That's one thing. So it's not necessarily, like, to me, it's not like the question really isn't, does witchcraft choose you or do you choose it? Because to me, you always choose witchcraft if that's what you want to do. but the spirituality behind it, does that choose you? And I agree 100% with from the cauldron, which that's cute. If everyone could practice, nobody would be making asking me to help them out. Well, that's the thing. It's practice, right? Everybody can do witchcraft, and they can practice. They highly, highly recommend having a person to help guide you, like Stephanie or whoever. And you can do that, but the practice itself can be a little bit different, which I think is what's fun about it. And the other part of it. But so Maisha, let's get a couple of cards for you, and we will go about the rest of today.
And open the circle. And while you're doing that, please check out From the Cauldron Witch going live at 11 a.m. California time. For us, that's 2 p.m. Eastern. Adjust to your time frame at From the Cauldron Witch on Instagram. Also on Instagram, please, or YouTube, please check out Unexplained Possibilities. He goes into all different kind of things paranormal. Very cool stuff. On YouTube, Adius Dade, and on Twitch, Adius Dade. They will be going live later today for a interview with Michael Ford and Christoph Bathory. Please check out Lady Rose 819 on Instagram. Our lovely paranormal witch and Willow, who does great spiritual blogs. Ziggy Dreadful on Twitch does games. Who am I leaving out? Mavethel, Mavethel on Twitch, who streams games also. I don't know that I've left anybody out. If I have, please tell me.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go back to that.
All right.
So, the first card I pulled for Maisha, don't want to say it wrong, is the Hawthorn. I absolutely love the Hawthorn tree. It is a beautiful tree. It is very well known in lore. It's very common. The number on this card is 6. So when you think of sixes, you think of evenness, and you think of things being symmetrical and together and ordered and organized. And the Hawthorn represents an aspect of cleansing. It is mental faculty. It is growth in the brain and the mind and the spirit. It is, it is the active phase of things, but it's the active phase of mindfulness, prepping through them. So for me, the Hawthorn in a read is going to really come to making sure that your cleansing practice is up in good order, and that you are processing things, and that you're looking at not necessarily needing to push through really hard to the end of things. You want to push through them and enjoy the process. Go through the whole process of something. Don't try to rush it. Don't try to go directly to the end of it and get to the point where things are where you want to be. Enjoy the road that you're traveling on. So the Hawthorn is also a feminine energy. So yeah, it's just going to be a part of that process. So Hawthorn. I have a Hawthorn wand too, actually, that I don't utilize very much, but it's pretty.
I'm going to show your card. Island Silver Fir. Okay.
Got that one again.
What? Hawthorn.
So the Hawthorn.
It's a very full tree.
It is a very full tree. It's a very spiritual tree. Like, it is aligned to the spiritual processes of things. So if you're getting this is cleansing and protecting in your spiritual. So you should spend some extra energy, or I would recommend spending extra energy, Maisha, on your spiritual cleansing practices and your prepping practices for right now. And maybe drive some of those a little bit more dedicated, not dedicated, a little bit more specific. That's what I was looking for. I'm not finding my words well today. I think I said that last week too.
And I drew the Ilum, or Silver Fir, again, which is also a full tree, but it's one of the tallest trees. And I'm getting immediately, I've got 4 things surrounding the tree in the picture, 2 pine cones and 2 leaves. So a total of 4 things. And you are looking at things above, what's going on, and you've got, if there's a situation that comes up, remember, you see it clear, and you see it clearer than any advice somebody's given to you. And this card is telling me to look above it and look at the whole picture. You know, you have little bits of people giving you and situations presenting little pieces of it. Look out above and look at it all, because you are wise for yourself. You are the wisest. You know what to do. You are full, beautiful, tall, and proud, and you will make the right decision. But just look above the bullshit.
I like it. So there you go. That is all we have time for today. So real quick, I will mention there is is Ford first. So Christoph Bathory and Ford are together. So at our 3:00 session, our interview is really Malice interviewing and speaking with both Christoph and Michael Ford. I am just going to be there and be present and probably not say or do anything because I'm going to be listening and learning myself.
Thank you, Kelly. You're very kind. Thank you for stopping in.
Yes, thank you all for stopping in. Yeah. This has been a really, really great day. It's been a long day. I'm a little tired. So I am excited to go rest for a minute, for an hour before we have
Everybody
to get ready.
Jump on Instagram and check out From the Cauldron Witches Tarot. We'll be there.
That's what, 30
awesome.
minutes, right?
30 minutes. So we're ready to, any closing
that's 2 o'clock
thoughts?
Eastern.
Yep.
Biggest closing thought for me, and we're going to talk about it again next week, is the need to repair. And I think I'm going to stop calling healing rituals healing, and they're repairing. I think they're repairing rituals, not healing. I think that's a change for me. Let me write that down. Because we have to stop trying to think we're exiting the need for, going in the shop and getting a tune-up. So that's actually going to be a thing. That's my final thoughts.
All right. Shall we open the circle?
We'll open the circle.
All right. From the north, Widdershins, to the east, undoing the circle that is cast. May it be open, but never unbroken. Thank you all so much for stopping in and spending some time this morning with us. Be safe. Have a great and powerful week in which you manifest all you want or need.
Yep, we will see you around, or we will see you next Sunday.
Yeah. And check out From the Cauldron Witch on Instagram. She's about to go live.
Woo woo.
Awesome tarot. Woo woo.
Woo woo.